May the words of my mouth and the meditation of mine heart be acceptable in Yahweh's sight. He is our strength and our redeemer, and it is in his name, which is his authority, that we pray, praise, proclaim, project, and protect today's message. Amen. Hola, mi nombre es Kofi. ¿Cómo está? Bonjour, je m'appelle Kofi. Ça va? Ni hao, namaste, osaya, osaya anakitwaya, Ohio. I see you. Shalom. Excuse me. Habarigani, Akwaba, Edesen, Jambo, Mimini Kofi, Nina Fra, Kukutana Nueve. Hello, everybody. This is Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, of being a voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. Shabbat Shalom, Bakwat Tav, Anai Kofi, Mashalam Chi. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Thanks for being on. I appreciate it. Last day and a half or so has been a little rocky, still a little rocky, but able to come back on today and be in front of you all again. And I appreciate your presence. Thanks for hanging in there with us. Matter of fact, before we get too deep into this today, let's go ahead. I'm gonna grab some. I got everything over here except something to drink. I'm gonna grab some water, and we're gonna get into today. But thank y'all for coming on. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Come on in. Hopefully you guys are doing well. I'm sure I have some water in my life. Come on in. I don't have that in front of the screen yet, but come on in. Y'all keep us in prayer. We're continuing to have to make some moves and travel and do a lot of stuff, but thankful for you guys to be on. We appreciate you. Hello. We give all honor and praise once again to the Most High. We give all praise and honor to him for my wife, the Honorable Maya, who lives a life that's able to be honored. You can check her out on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N, Bloom and Flourish. She is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And she is on. Thank you, babe, so much for being on. I love you very much. Let's go ahead and say hello to everybody real quick and then get into today. And then I've got some stuff to do. And I know you have the same. So may this be something that helps you to execute today, execute well, and be in position for what you need. But hello to everybody on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Information for the classes in the description underneath of YouTube. If you are on the video on YouTube, there's information how to contact us and text, email us, etc. On Facebook. If you're on TikTok, you can just watch to the end for more information, or you can just click on our go to our main page real quick, click on the link tree, and be able to get information on how to contact us there as well. All righty, but thank you guys. We appreciate you. Let's say hello to everybody real quick. How you doing, Justin? Yashab in Israel, Sister Nadine, Sister Tracy, Brother Stephen, Nay, Sister Kimberly, Sister Erica, Samaya LeRae, Sister Patricia. To my wife, once again, thanks, babe, for being on. Appreciate you. How you doing, King? Sister Knight, Coco, Sister Monica, Sister Judith, everybody, we appreciate you so very much. Thanks for coming on in. Brother Keith, if I missed your name, charges to my head and not to my heart, and it's not my intention to miss your name. How you doing? Sister Sherry, Sister Irena, to everybody, thank you so much. By the way, Sister Irena, thanks for checking in. I just realized I don't think I texted you back. I was trying to text back everybody who was checking on us. We thank you for checking in on us. We thank you all of you for your prayers, your hearts, your concerns, and everything. Thank you for looking out for us. We really appreciate it. And so today, what we're going to do, how you doing, Sister Marion, Auntie Marion in the house? Today, what I'd like to talk about is something pretty simple. I don't even know if I changed the theme on TikTok, so I apologize. But I want to talk about the journey is often underrated. How you doing, Reginald? The journey is often underrated. All right. Good to be seen. Thank you. Or great to be seen. Thank you. The journey is often underrated. And everybody, look, the destination is marvelous. That's what the point is. There's a vision. There's a end in mind, right? We're doing things to an expected end. We're going towards a vision. However, let us not forget that the journey should not be underrated. What we're doing is setting us up to get to the end, and the end is only reached because we went on a journey. right? So if we're not careful, we will underrate the journey. And what happens is the journey, therefore, is often, very often, what? Underrated. Um, if you look at a lot of different things, matter of fact, that's something that happens when we talk about microwave generations. What we're really saying is that we have a generation of people who are so into skipping steps or getting somewhere as fast as possible that we don't think about the journey, right? We have so many people, right, that want to know about marriage but don't think about marriage. And I don't even necessarily like this book per se, but we don't even read anything about marriage, right? We're a group of people. Thank you to my wife for getting this. We're a group of people that want to have money, but don't realize that money doesn't grow on trees. However, it can grow, right? But we don't think about that, right? We're a generation that wants to be free from legal tyranny, but we don't even learn the UCC, which is something that helps us to what? To go on the journey. We're people that want to make sure that we're free, but we don't think about that a lot of our journey is connected to a straw man, right? And so therefore we don't even continue to do that, right? We don't look into that. We want to make sure that we have some things that are in common, but we don't care about common law, right? We want to make sure that we know about the word of Yah, but we don't even read the word of Yah, right? Instead, we want to talk about the word of Yah and its originality, but we don't even know its origins in English. You see, like there's a lot of stuff. The journey, right? The journey is not only necessary, the journey is worth it. If you want to get to the end, then you have to go through the journey. If you're worthy of the crown, then you are worthy of the journey. If you're worthy of winning, how you doing, Sister Cherise? Then you're worthy of the journey. How you doing, Brother Emmanuel? Right? If you're worthy of the crown, right? If you say that you're worthy of this stuff, then you have to think to yourself, like, am I worthy of the journey? Am I doing what the journey requires? Right? Am I doing what the journey requires? So when talking about the journey, we have to realize real quick that a lot of us are doing things that are not necessarily worthy of the result. We want the result, but we're not looking at the journey, right? The journey. How you doing, Sister Denise? Hey, how you doing, Minister Shante? The journey is required, it's necessary. And so the love that you have towards the end game, how you doing, Brother Stephen, Sir Stephen, how you doing, Sister Nadine? Imperial, Imperial Incorporated, how you doing? So the journey must be what? How you doing, Brother Anthony? The journey must be what? How you doing, G? The journey must be something that we are worthy of. If we want the end, if we want the result, if we want the crown, if we want heaven, if we want the business, if we want the marriage, then what are the steps that you take to get there? And a lot of us are arguing about the end, but aren't talking about what's going to take place to get us to that end. Right? What is it that we need to do as a people, as a diaspora? Right? If we're talking about correcting marriages and men are bad and women are bad and this and that or whatever, what journey must take place? What must we do? What are the steps that you're willing to take? And when you right, like this is something that really came to me. I was watching a couple of guys who I actually enjoy watching just because they kind of keep me up on stuff that's going on, but also too, they have a pretty decent mindset. I don't agree on everything they say or do, but they have a pretty decent mindset when it comes to trying to see things and trying to empathize and trying to make sure that certain conservative and liberal mindsets are being brought to the table. These guys are called Abba and Preach. If you get a chance to follow them on YouTube, I say they're a great follow. Now they do curse and stuff like that. So, if that's something that's a deal breaker for you, you got to guard your gates. And if that's something that you feel you have to take out of your mindset, feel free to, make sure that you're aware that that's something that's coming. But, they talk about a lot of different things, but I realize that even as much as I might agree with them at times, a lot of the stuff that they're doing is not even what we would call debate. So if they say something about somebody and somebody comes back at them and then they go back at them, they don't really debate. They just basically say my end is better, this and that or whatever, right? But they don't talk. They don't even empathize. They don't even see what got that person to that state. Sometimes, not always. Matter of fact, not most of the time, but enough to where it can be a little irritating to hear not only their view, but then also the other person's view, because then what happens is the other person comes back, talks about why their in result is bad. And neither one of them wants to talk about the journey, right? If we're not careful, the journey can be something that really messes us up. How you doing, Sister Ray? Um, The journey that makes you become who you are is vital. This is why we talk about culture. You did not get to where you are just because. You got to where you are because of a journey. You did not get the job that you have just because. You got to the job because of a journey. You do not speak the language that you speak just because. You speak the language that you speak because of what? Because of a journey, right? And so we have to ask ourselves, where are you on the journey? Is that journey relevant to what your ultimate end game is? And do we need to make sure that we start taking steps to get you back on track or to get you on track? You know, we might not even be on track concerning getting to where we're trying to get to, right? We might just be going through some stuff just for the sake of going through some stuff, but not actually taking steps on an actual journey that is relevant to where you're headed, right? So must ask the question, where are you headed? What is the expected end? Not just the end. What is the expected end? And forgive me, TikTok, if y'all disappeared just for a second, right? But we got to ask that question once again. Not just are you doing, but what is the expected end? Because the journey should be headed towards an expected end, right? The journey should be headed towards an expected end. Let me say that one more again. The journey should be taking us towards an expected end. The journey must take us towards an expected end, right? If I expect to get somewhere, then I should expect to do some things to get there. So I had to ask yourself, what is your expected end? Right? We could say heaven. Okay. Once we get past heaven, right? Heaven should be inside me. So what is the expected end to make sure I feel heaven in the midst of hell? What is the expected end? What am I doing? What is the expected journey? What are the steps that I'm taking that I expect if I do these things, I shall have peace in the midst of a storm? An expected end requires expected steps. What are the steps required to get you to what you're saying that you're going to reach? When they say, like they say, the chips are down. When the chips are down, what is your mindset? I'm fighting with my spouse. What are the steps required to get you to stop? And what we do is what? We just start talking about the end. Well, they're going to stop disrespecting me. They're going to stop hating me. They need to make sure I trust them. Okay, I got all that. How you know, Sister Austria? Now that we got all that, that's the end. If they're going to start trusting you, what are the steps required for you to build up trust and for them to build up trust? And what are the rewards when they build up the trust? You see, there's a difference. We argue the end and never respect the journey. The journey is often underrated. How you doing, Sister Beverly? The journey is often what? Underrated. We normally don't look at the journey correctly because we're so busy talking about the end. I'm so glad, I'm so thankful that divorce has happened, this and that, or whatever. I'll never go back. Okay, cool. What is the journey to ensure you're married to the Most High and to make sure that you are the husband or the wife that you should have always been? What are some of the things that you should have been better in, even if it's your decision making? Because if ultimately you're saying you got involved with somebody that was bad, then you made the wrong choice. Might hurt your feelings. You might not want to hear that. We might not want to recognize such things, but that's real, right? So what can we do to make sure that from now on your choices are geared towards something? What is the culture that feeds your choices? What is the culture that feeds your belief system? Yep, patience, or even we would go a step further. Patience runs out. So long suffering. So what are the things that you're willing to suffer as long as it takes to make you sure that you're geared to be better? Right? I'm not coming against you. I'm just saying I take it to the next level. Right? Like we underrate the journey. We don't think about, right? This, for example, marriage is supposed to be taught from when you were born. You're supposed to be geared to become a great adult, a great spouse, and a great parent. And then you're supposed to be, if you were in our culture, husbands, because you should already be a husband, are given an inheritance. And wives, because in our culture, you're supposed to already be qualified as a wife, should be somebody who is making sure that she is ultimately protected and able to get her vision and stuff together so that he who finds a wife, right, finds a great thing, a constitutional thing. So there's a journey required in that. And how you doing? Is it Dia Fisher? Thanks for being part of the community. How you doing, Bradley? Like there's a journey required. And a lot of people keep talking about the end without the journey, without the requirements, right? Forgiveness, sure. Tap into forgiveness. Have you forgiven yourself? Have you watched this? Have you forgiven yourself of curses? Because when we talk about breaking generational curses, what we're really saying is we have to do some things to forgive things that are tied to us even before we were born. See, sometimes you bring stuff into marriage. It's not just from past relationships that you've had with other people who you've laid down with or dated or whatever. Sometimes you're bringing soul ties from generations, and you got to stop going down their journey. Right? Could it be possible that your relationships are based upon journeys that your parents took and you saw bad relationship after bad relationship after bad relationship, or just one long bad relationship? And that's where you're getting your information from. And you need to break yourself from that. Could it be that you're trying to discipline your children according to how you were disciplined, but your child is not you and might not need the same discipline, might need what you consider to be more discipline, what you might consider to be less, or might need it in certain areas that you didn't need it in because they're not you. Right? How you doing, Sister Akita? Yeah, facts. Taking a hard look and evaluate yourself. What do you do every day to connect the relationship, right? Because you are an eternal being, which means you are on an eternal journey. You said one verse in the doctrine, you get extra favor from Elohim when you find a great wife. Sure, right? But don't even forget, right? Like we only use, like you said, I'm glad you said it that way. One verse. So one verse, that's one verse, Proverbs 18:22. The verse before it, Proverbs 18:21, says that so Proverbs 18:21, he who finds a wife, finds um, a constitutional thing, or what people call a good thing, a constitutional thing, and obtains favor from Adam, from the Most High. True. The verse before it says, death and life is in the power of the tongue, and those that love it will eat the fruit thereof, which means that your wife can speak negativity or positivity over your life. Find out what she speaks. But don't forget the verse before that, Proverbs chapter 18, verse 20, that talks about the husband and how he has to be on point. So the husband's in verse 20, the wife is in verse 22, they come together in verse 21. There's a journey, right? It's a journey in which is being discussed, right? How you doing, Gasm? There's a journey that is being discussed. And we oftentimes are denying the journey. Once again, what is the journey? See, watch this. Let's even go here. What is the journey of your people? Remember, people is a nation. So do you even take a journey as a nation? Because your nation ultimately is going to dictate your family life, and your family life is going to dictate your nation. Remember, there's no society without individuals, and there's no individuals unless you have a society to base it off of. Hey, how you doing, Sister Sonia? Right? The journey. We underrate the journey. We just, what is the end? What is the end? I don't know. Well, this is what's going to happen. If I'm going to join you, this is what's going to happen. If I'm going to be part of your family, this is what's going to happen. If I'm going to be married to you, this is what's going to happen. And you keep in. And I'm glad because that's called vision. So now we've got to take that vision and begin to execute something. We have to begin to write out a web. We have to begin to write out a constitution. We have to begin to write out guidelines, laws, things like that, that guide us and protect us. We call that a blueprint. And then we go back now to where we are in time, right? And we say, okay, now let's start the journey. What are your likes? What are your dislikes? What are your pains? What are your joys? What are the things that your somebody did to you that you didn't deserve? What are the things that people did for you that you did deserve? What is it that your family heritage is? And now that we've discussed that, now let's start talking about the journey together. Nobody walks into an army, especially nowadays. Nobody walks into an army and is the general. Nobody walks into an army and is command master sergeant. Nobody, or I'm sorry, command sergeant major. Excuse me. Nobody walks into an army or into a navy and is the command master chief. There's a journey. He had to start enlisted. He had to start E1, right? He had to be a recruit, then an apprentice, then a seaman, then a petty officer, third class, second class, first class, chief petty officer, master chief petty officer. I'm sorry, senior chief petty officer, then a master chief petty officer. There was something that took place, and we've become microwave generation. And how you doing, Sister Latoya? And how you doing, Mies? Once again, we become a microwave generation due to the fact that we don't like journeys. We're not willing to take a journey. What if the journey? And how you doing, Gregory? Sorry for not saying hello earlier. What is the journey that it takes, right? And is the journey worth it? Is it worth it no matter how long it takes? So the end is important, right? Don't underrate the end. I'm not saying underrate the end so you can properly rate or the journey, right? What I'm saying is use the end as a point to see where I am in the journey. Right? Use the end to see where I am on the journey. Matter of fact, if you really get into it, then you start realizing you have to have a past, a present, and a future, and that all of it is a journey. So even your end is part of what? The journey. The first word of the sentence and the last word of the sentence are both part of the sentence, correct? You said we're also being micromanaged by a certain race of people. Sure, if that's your culture, if that's your litmus test, right? How you doing, Sister Sheila? How you doing, Brother Henry? If that's the standard. See, once again, we have to operate under a standard. See, everybody understands. I know some people want to overstand and understand and outer stand, etc. Right? However, understand means I'm under a standard. If your standard is by your oppressor, then yeah, that's the standard for you. That's about as. And if their standard is to keep you at a certain place, and only a few of you are allowed to get past that place, then you're going to get the result of that standard. So once again, what is the end? How you doing, Sister Rachel? So once again, what is the end? What is the end? What is the vision? What is the goal? How you doing, MIT Bertram? What is the goal? Right? Understood, Emma. Yeah. What is the goal? How you doing, Brother Javon? See, what is once again the expected end? Everybody always talks about the end. What is the expected end? I expect to reach this. Well, if I expect to reach this, it means that I expect to take certain steps. I expect those that'll be with me will take certain steps. I even expect that I might not know everything. So as I take certain steps, I might have to have my steps redefined. I might have to have my walk tinkered with some. I might be somebody who is off balance when I walk, and I might need more balance and structure. Maybe I walk, but I walk in depression, so I don't see where I'm headed. But if I would lift up or even lift up somebody who can lift me up. What is your expected end? See, there's righteous intent. We talk about this all the time. I'm not trying to be right, I'm trying to be righteous. See, there's people that have righteous intent. They take steps intending to do what is correct. It doesn't mean that it's right or righteous. There's a lot of people who, when you have conversations, your goal is to win, right? And you want to win because you feel like winning is going to get you to a positive place, but winning might not be necessary in that moment. Right. Well, and that's great, right? So if somebody says, I expect good or I expect righteousness, how you doing, Brother Vincent? I expect positivity. I expect good. I expect it. That's great. That's awesome. Expect it. Expect it all day, every day, 10 times a day. But what does that look like? Once again, so if we say, I expect good. Okay, when I write out good, right? What does that mean? Let's do a mental map. Yep, evil in the last days for sure, which means that guess what? As the world gets more evil, you're supposed to get more righteous. So if I say I just want things to be good, or I want things to be righteous, or I want things to be this or that, right? Because good and God being the same thing, and we were talking about Elohim, not God, right? So if I'm saying I want righteousness, and I write out righteousness, what does it look like? This is oftentimes the problem that we're having, is that we're just saying, I want what's great. I want something that's positive. I want the kingdom. But okay, so what does that look like in your life? What are you called to? What are you called to? Because the word called, kletos, invited. What are you invited to? So you're a puzzle piece. And so just to say that I'm invited and I just want ultimate good and everything and blah, blah, like even that means that you're going to have to go through some trials and tribulations. Doesn't the same word and the same Messiah that we're talking about here, isn't he also going to tell us that therefore I have to pick up my cross? So what are you willing to suffer through? Because then ultimately suffering works out for my good. See, the invitation has to be something that's worthy. See, watch this. If we're worthy of the invitation, how you doing, Brother Jared? If you're worthy of the invitation, now here comes the next part. Watch this. If I'm worthy of the invitation, I've also been invited to plan it out, write down the vision and make it plain upon the tablets, that the person who comes together with me, right, they will read it and runneth with it. They need to see, oh, okay, I got this now. I see what you're laying out. Okay, cool. I can take that and run with it. If they're going to be your disciple, disciplined by you, the master, the teacher, Rabbi, the teacher, right? If they're going to see what you're writing out and be blessed by it, then at some point they have to be so blessed by it that what you've written out will not only cause them to become greater, but they will become greater than you. For greater things shall you do, thus saith the Lord. How you doing, Sister Deborah? Greater things shall you do. So in your saying, I just want ultimate good. See, this is where we start to have a little bit of breakdown. What is the vision and what is written out? I want my children to do well. What is your child's calling and purpose? And what do they do well? And what is it they will do well for eternity? And what are we doing every day to ensure that they have time to invest in it, to put in those 10,000 working hours, if you will? Right? And often what we do is we just have this place where we just go, I want good. I want it to be good. I want it to feel good. I want it to be great. I want it to do great. I want to feel nice. I want to do this. What is the work? There you go, right? Everything good ain't good for you, is this old saying, right? What is the work that needs to take place now? I bought land. I want to eat off of it. What is the work? I've gotten married. I want to be able to have children. What is the work? I have children. I want to make sure that my grandchildren are taken care of. What is the work? I say this a lot of times to preachers, right? Hey, they'll be like, I'm called to preach. I say, amen. That's excellent. That's awesome. Now, next question. Why are you called to preach? I'm excited that you realize the invitation in your life to preach. Now, why are you called to preach? Because you're not going to preach the same way another preacher does. You're not going to preach the same word, the same messages. And if you begin to do that, then what thanks have we? If you could only do things on the level that others do, what thanks have we? You are called for a specific time. Now, I'm not saying you can't repeat the same verses, you can't repeat the same stuff. Maybe you even repeat a sermon word for word. I don't know. But what I'm saying is that you have to recognize what is your calling and what is your work and what is your vision. And then watch this. If your vision is great, it fits into a greater vision than your own anyways. Your vision is not that. I've used this as a in times past. There are a lot of people that you see on the corner and they look great for the corner. They look better than you. They got more expensive clothes on, this and that or whatever. And but if you were to invite them and say, hey, let's go to an event, let's go on a trip, let's go take a plane ride somewhere, let's go to a restaurant tonight. They would say they couldn't afford it. You said, well, how can't you afford it? You look better than me. But they might have $200 worth of stuff on them, but their vision is only great enough for the corner. You said you had his help. You asked him, amen. That's great. That's great. That's great. But once again, and if you've got everything together, that's great. For those of you who might want to go a little further and maybe you're trying to figure out why it is, right? Some people might have it and be perfect, right? But for those of us that aren't, and we're still trying to get better every day and continue to be there and continue to do things the way the Most High wants us and improve eternally, I'm here to tell you, right, that like vision is going to be not only necessary, but then vision requires preparation. Prepare. What does the word prepare even mean? Pre means before. Pair means to cut, to be cut. Cutting doesn't always feel great. Paul says that I have this thorn in my side. Over 20 something years, more than likely, he prayed about this thorn in his side. Finally, the Most High came to him and said, look, right? He said, my grace is sufficient. The word grace, katas, charisma, who I am in your life is sufficient. I'm cutting you or allowing you even to be cut by this thing, but who I am is sufficient. So use it for my glory. And a lot of people are running away from what's preparing you. Prepare what's pre-cutting you. You're not just being cut for the sake of being cut. If I were to go out there and I were to make sure that I cut a bush down, right, to make sure that it can grow. If I were to cut it down, some people would be like, man, you're cutting this thing down and there's not going to be anything left. It feels like you're cutting it off. No, I'm cutting it down. I'm pruning it. And you believe it or not, that bush will come back bigger and better and greater because it hasn't been cut for a long time, or because it might have been cut in the wrong areas. It might be growing in a place to where it's mangled. It's not going to produce fruit correctly. It's not going to be able to do certain things. So in order to make sure that bush is cut correct or growing correct, I have to cut it correctly. How you doing, Sister Helen? How you doing, Green Goddess? How you doing, Shabbos? See, so in all these things, right? And all you're getting, get an understanding, and all you're cutting, get an understanding, and all your vision plans that you have, get an understanding. Stand under the vision and prepare yourself. The journey must make sure that the journey is going to prepare you for the vision. The vision is going to prepare you for the journey. Your past has prepared you to write down the vision. Your past has prepared you for the unexpected end. The unexpected end prepared your past so that all things would work together for your righteousness. It's an eternal concept. But once again, I have to ask the question, where are you headed? What is your expected end? How you doing? Praise God. Right? What is your expected end? What do you expect to get out of this? And then what do you expect to do to get there? No shade on anybody, right? No shade on anybody, because I deal with a lot of people all the time, and a lot of people, what they do is they say, well, I just plan to get up and whatever y'all tells me is what. Okay, but what is your gift? Well, I don't know, but that doesn't really matter as much as whatever y'all get. No, no, no. What is your gift? See, because your gift shall make room before you, right? Same verses, by the way, before we get to Proverbs 18:22, he who finds a wife. Well, for us as men, I think it's Proverbs chapter 18, verse 16. I could be wrong, but somewhere before verse 22, it says that as a brother, as a man, as a husband, your gift, and really for anybody, of course, but in that context, a husband, his gift makes room for him. So we have a lot of people who get with men and don't ever vet them as far as their gift and see if that gift is something that you can see as going towards his mission, because you're not in submission, you're in submission, right? You're not submitted to the man, you're submitted to the mission. How you doing, Brother Jermaine? And a man without a mission is a dangerous man. He's a dangerous man, right? A man without a mission is a dangerous man. A sister who doesn't realize the necessity of a mission is a dangerous sister because she gets with dangerous men. First Timothy chapter 3. She is led by men who are high-minded, right, lascivious, into lust, and they look for someone who has a form of Elohim but denies the power thereof. From such that she should turn away from, but instead, what she's led away captive because of silly laden sin. She's already in a sense where she's sin. Sin means to miss the mark. Easy working definition. We're missing the mark. We're not getting where we need to. So she's already missing the mark by looking for a man before first she should make sure she's looking for a mission. If the mission is something that the man is submitted to, then she never has to be worried about being submitted to a man, and therefore she will love the man because she will love what he loves. She will love the man because she loves the fact that he loves submission, and that part of his mission is submission to her. See, the end is great, but what is the journey? Well, I'm not even worried about good doctrine. How about this sound doctrine? The word sound there, by the way, in the Greek even is hygienikos, right? Hygienikos, it means to be hygienic. Hygienic means to be clean. Why? Because the word clean literally means to be lawful, right? So if I'm going to be clean, if I'm going to follow law, even if I'm not going to follow law, right? The only laws that only things I should worry about not concerning law is to love, have joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, faithfulness, meekness, temperance, and being like Elohim, right? Those are the only things that I should make sure that I'm following. That are what? The only things I should make sure that I'm following that are what? That don't need law to protect me from them. Everything else is there's law. The fruit of the spirit, again, right? Which are 9 pieces that go into making this one fruit. When I bite into your fruit, I should be able to see love, joy, peace, long suffering, gentleness, being like Elohim, faithfulness, meekness, and temperance. I should see that every time. If I don't see those things, then guess what? I need some law. I need some boundaries. I need some boundaries in my life to be able to see that I need to be protected from those things. Right? I need some boundaries in my life to protect me because law doesn't give rights, law protects rights. I have a right to love and receive love. I have a right to have joy and receive joy. I have a right to have peace and to receive peace. I have a right to be long suffering and have people with me that are long sufferers. I have a right to be gentle and be around people that are gentle. I have a right to be like the Most High and have people around me trying to do the same thing. I have a right to be full of faith and have people around me that are full of faith. I have a right to be humble and have people around me that are humble. I have a right to make sure that I am tempered, to make sure that I don't get out of sorts, and have a right to people that are also have the proper temperament. If you don't have those things, then there's laws to protect me against that. How you doing, Sister Drea? You said you're not under law. Well, you're not under law, right? But Yahshua the Messiah, he is under law. And he requires us to have the same mind that he does, right? Open up Matthew chapter 5, right? Sermon on the Mount. Matthew chapter 5, verses 10 through 12, right? The same Messiah that says in verse 3, blessed are the poor in spirit, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to them. The same person that says, blessed are the humble, for they shall inherit the earth. The same Messiah that says, blessed are those that mourn, for they shall be comforted. He also says, blessed are those of you when they say all manner of evil against you and value and these things. Why? Because as long as it's for his namesake, his reputation. Why? Because they did the same thing to the prophets that came before you. Right now, then read Matthew chapter 5, verse 17 through 20. After he says, you are the light of the world, you are the salt of the earth, you are a city that's set on high, all these things. Then after that, verses 17 through 20, verse 17, he says what? This is the Messiah. This is not me. This is the Messiah. Verse 17 through 20. Yahshua, who you might even call Jesus, sounds like you might be somebody who calls him Christ, Jesus. So if that's, but who the Messiah is, he says this, right? Yeah, it is somewhat a distraction, but it's fine. I don't think they mean it to be such. At verse 17, he says, do not think that I come to destroy the law. I have not came to destroy the law or the prophets that he just talked about, verse 10 through 12. He said, I came not to destroy the law or the prophets. How you doing, Brother Ali? He said that I came not to destroy the law, but that it might be fulfilled. Now, people give you this weird thing. They say, see, fulfilled, it means it's ended. The word fulfilled does not mean end. He said, I came that it might be fulfilled. The word fulfilled means to be put into effect or to be enacted. I came not to destroy the law, but to show you how to put it into effect. Right? Then verse 18, right after it, he says, until heaven and earth pass away, which it has not yet. So until heaven and earth pass away, he says, not one jot or tittle in any wise should change. In other words, not the most minuscule of measurements, nor even the way that this law is written, should it change. Even the Yao, the way it's written, it should not change. How you doing, Sister Dawn? But then the Messiah keeps on going. He says, those who do not follow the law and teach others not to follow it are considered to be the least in the kingdom of heaven. You said God hates. Well, I'm not talking about God. I'm talking about other kind. And if you're talking about Nicolaitans doctrine is for those who try to conquer those with things that try to make them laity, lay people, like the people in church, and try to talk down to them. Kind of sort of like if you're not dangerous, you kind of end up looking like you're doing. But then also don't forget Balaam doctrine that goes with it, right? Revelation 3:6. Revelation 2:6, Revelation 2:15. You talk about Nicolaitan deeds and Nicolaitan doctrine. Revelation chapter 2, verse 14. You're talking about Balaam doctrine, which is any doctrine that's trying to say get away from the laws that Israel had in place, right? Okay, so we got to be complete. I can't just, like you said earlier, I can't just take one verse. I got to be holy, holistic. All of it must go together, or else it's not the word, right? So not one jot or tittle should any wise pass. And if verse 19 says, if I therefore do what? If I teach people not to be about the law, and if I don't follow the law myself, I'm the least in the kingdom of heaven. But if I teach people about the law and I teach them and I follow it myself, right, then I'm considered to be the greatest in the kingdom of heaven. That's what the Messiah says. It's weird. We're talking about doctrine, but we don't like his doctrine. We don't like his words. That's what he says. You got to show me that he didn't say it. I'm not saying that that's the only thing he said. I'm not saying that therefore if you break one law, your whole life is over. But we can't act like you're going to go to heaven or hell and there's not going to be any standard to be able to see whether you're in heaven or hell. Right? Because verse 20, right after it, Matthew chapter 5, verse 20, we're still in the Sermon on the Mount. What does Yehoshua say, or who you might call Jesus? What does he say after that? He says in verse 20, he says that you should know the law greater than the scribes and the Pharisees. Now, who are the scribes and Pharisees of today? Who are the people who write out your doctrines or your trusts, your LLCs? The reason why you have trustees. Who are the people who write out these 501c3 things that you call assemblies of the Most High that belong to the government of the United States, the beast? He said you should know the law greater than them. That's what it says in your word, right? Read your Bible; it'll bless you. I'm not making anything up. And thank you, Sister Joy. Appreciate it. How you doing, Brother Taryn? And then, but he doesn't stop there. I wish I could say, okay, that's it, that's all, blah, blah. But he says what? It doesn't stop there. Verse 12, Matthew chapter 7, verse 12. Still in the Sermon on the Mount. This is after verse 6, where he says, be careful about throwing pearl to swine. Right? After this, and after he said, you got to know where to seek. Seeking you will find, right? You got to know what to ask. Ask and it shall be, and you shall get an answer, right? Knock and it shall be open unto thee. Verse 12, Matthew 7, verse 12. After all that, what does he say? He says in verse 12, he makes it a point to say specifically and strategically, he says, do unto others. Now, this is the full golden rule, because we like half the golden rule, because we like half parts, because we don't want to be wholly accountable. We like to have a whole end, but we want to take a half journey. It doesn't work like that, right? Remember, we're talking about the journey is often underrated. Do not underrate the journey. Just because you have a proper destination in mind might not mean you're getting there the correct manner. I can give you directions to get to your favorite place, but it doesn't mean that my directions are correct. I could have you going north when you're supposed to go south. So what does it say in Matthew chapter 7, verse 12? The entire golden rule says what? Do unto others as you want done unto you, for this is the law and the prophets. Same law and prophets he says you should pay attention to. In Matthew chapter 5, verse 10 through 12, same law and the prophets he talks about in Matthew chapter 5, verse 17 through 20. Yehoshua keeps talking about laws, but we keep telling people why he doesn't think laws matter. How you doing, Iska? And what I'm saying is that at some point we should probably look at it and say, if law matters to the Messiah, then why do we keep saying it doesn't matter? How do we follow a Messiah who follows law and dictates through law and even says a new commandment I give unto thee and things like that? He didn't say I wipe out. See, what we do is this is why the journey is important. We are so big on the end, but we want a microwave version, right? We don't want it to be cooked right. We don't want the lamb to sit over the fire or to burn. We don't want it to be, well done. And we're trying to eat the lamb, and we're trying to figure out why it's chewy. I can't get into this. It's not ready to eat. It hasn't gone through enough yet. Even if you get some frozen version of a lamb, you still have to make sure that it's thawed out and that it's cooked up correctly. But what we're doing is we're saying, hey, well, every time Yahshua says anything about this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the law doesn't matter. Only what he says matters. But everything he did is based off of everything that was. And everything that he shall do is still based off everything he does. Yeah, we try to, there you go. That's even a greater way of saying it, Sister Betty. I like that. We try to microwave righteousness. Right? So watch this. Let me ask a question. And this might mess up your mind or your theology or whatever. And I apologize for making you have to think. And I know it might elicit some emotional response. I'm asking that even if you have an emotional response, set it to the side just enough to be able to hear the question. Here's the question. If you were saved, does it mean you were righteous? Once again, before we get into emotional response, before you start throwing, fruit at me and everything, before the slings and arrows go up, I've got the shield of faith ready to go anyways. I must ask the question though, if you are saved, does it guarantee you are righteous? You got some no's. Yep, you gotta be salvaged. See? And that's what we're saying. See? So people make the mistake of, I've been saved, therefore I am righteous. And therefore they make the mistake of, because only the righteous shall be able to get in. Correct? Do we agree on that? Can we agree on that? Do we believe that those who are not righteous shall be able to stand before the Most High and be in heaven and live eternally? Do we believe that? Yes or no? Can somebody who's not righteous get into heaven? Right? Only the righteous can get in. Right? So now we have to, and let's go into a verse that you guys are familiar with, because I talk about it all the time, but let's read it together, because I don't want you guys to think that I'm just making stuff up. So Romans chapter 10, and let's go verses 9 and 10. Right? If you want to read there, you want to go there, if you're flipping, if you're able to, if you're listening, whatever, if you want to say, I'm there, I'm with you, got it, amen, whatever. But let's read this together. Romans chapter 10, verses 9 and 10. And we talk about this all the time, but I have to, because we have mismanagement or misappropriation of this culture, of this kingdom. Right? What'd you say, Sister Betty? The hit stick. Amen. You talk about Madden, Sister Betty? Let me find out. Well, you do have a son. Right? Romans chapter 10, verses 9 and 10. Let's just read it in English, even without a whole bunch of going deep. Right? And salvaging something is a lifelong process, right? Yeah, you laughing. I wasn't ready for that. The hit stick reference. I was like, oh, okay. Like, you got some Madden players up in here. All right, Romans chapter 10, verses 9 and 10. You ready? Verse 9, this is where everybody stops. And everybody mismanages what the words mean, because once again, we don't know what the origin is. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against what? Principalities, kingdom origins. We wrestle not against flesh and blood. It's not even us we're wrestling against. It's not the words that I'm speaking. It's the fact that we don't know the origin and do not live the origin. Here we go. Romans chapter 10, verse 9. That if thou shalt confess with thy mouth, Yahshua HaMashiach, or Yahshua Adon, and shalt believe in thine heart that Elohim hath raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. That's awesome. That's awesome. Right? That if thou shalt confess with thy mouth, Yahshua HaMashiach, and shalt believe in thine love that Elohim hath raised him from the dead, thou shalt be sozo, you shalt be saved. Excellent. Excellent. But now what does Romans 10:10 say right behind it? See, it doesn't take but two verses for us to realize somebody's mismanaging. Somebody keeps doing these altar calls at the end of service. They keep saying these things, and something doesn't add up. Something's not righteous. How do we know this? Well, Romans 10:9, once again, that if thou shalt confess with thy mouth, I'll even read it the way that they read it in church, right? If thou shalt confess with thy mouth, the Lord Jesus, and shalt believe in thine heart that God hath raised him from the dead, thou shalt be saved. Verse 10, though. Verse 10, though. For with the heart man believeth unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. So with my mouth, or with the heart rather, excuse me, my heart, my passion, lav in the Hebrew, my heart, my passion is leading me towards righteousness. What does righteousness mean, by the way? Righteousness means right lawful standing. So just because I got saved doesn't mean that I'm still in right lawful standing. And then let's not even go to salvation, because people just say, well, once saved, I have salvation. But that's not what it says, because verse 10 says, and with the mouth, so with your mouth, what you start confessing, the confession you're talking about in verse 9, you don't even comprehend what that word means. Confess, right? To confess. But with the proper confession is made unto salvation. So the proper confession starts me on a path to salvation. Now, saved and salvation are not the same word, are they? Because saved means to be rescued. Salvation means to be salvaged. If I'm walking across the street and one of you were to push me out of the way of a bus, you have saved me. Now, let's say I wish no ill will upon me. This is just a, an example, right? But let's say when you pushed me out the way and you saved me, you died. Then therefore, in essence, you died for me, right? Now, I might be somebody that is like thankful to be alive, but also is flummoxed and frustrated and feels weird for a second. Wait a minute, this person who doesn't even know me pushed me out the way and I'm still here. I've been saved. So I go and I learn about this person. I read up on their obituary. I talk to their family. Come to find out that they had a wife and children. I help to take care of them. I help to sow into them. I'm coming to find out the children begin to tell me what the children of this person who died for me begin to tell me this is what our parent did. This is what they believe. This is why they did this. Or I'm sorry, this is what our father did in this example. This is what he did. This is why he sent, that he believed in doing these things for you. This was not just a one-time thing. This is just something he couldn't come back from. And so now I have a relationship with these children of this father who I never really would have identified with. And I begin to start wanting to become a better person because of what was done for me. And I figure if I ever have an opportunity to do it for somebody else, I'd be thankful and glad to. Why? Because even though I could never do that, my sacrifice that saved my life could never really be on the level of what that person gave up for me. At the end of the day, I'm willing to put my life on the line, and it's helped me to salvage, to become my original intent, become something greater than I've ever been. I am now gone from being saved to having salvation. And now that I live under the laws that this person lived under, I am in something called righteousness. I might have felt that what I was doing was right before, but my righteousness was as filthy rags. All right. I realized that filthy rag is a period rag. It's a bloody rag. So I was walking around saying, hey, just whatever. I know I'm bloody. I know I'm stinking. I know I have no life. But at the end of the day, go ahead. Even though I'm unclean, you just got to handle me because I'm right. A lot of people even do that. Hey, I've been saved by the bus, but hey, I'm still walking around bloody. I got the person's blood that covers me, right? The person got hit by the bus. And so the blood covered me. Since the blood's on me, it means that I can walk around and do whatever I want. And you can't say anything. I don't live by the law. Who are you to judge me? Only God can judge me. All these things. Just because you got blood splattered on you and you got saved, it doesn't mean that you've gone through an experience of becoming righteous and that you have now salvaged yourself to a point to where you want to live like the person who saved you. But if you would take the journey and stop talking about the destination, see, you say, I got saved and that's it. But even your Bible doesn't say that. Come on, somebody. Even your Bible doesn't say that once you got saved and the blood from that was splattered when the person saved you from the bus meant that now you're a better person. Your Bible don't even say that, does it? The culture doesn't even say that. The kingdom doesn't even say that. The King of Kings, the one who sacrificed himself, said, pick up your cross. I bled for you. Where's your blood? Minister Malcolm X taught it like this. He said, everybody's talking about that they don't want to go through anything to make sure that their people become a nation and become saved and this and that or whatever. He said, it's really weird because he said, when they told you to die, he said, when they told you to die in 1776, you bled, right? When they told you that you needed to make sure that everything was okay in the Civil War, you bled. He said, when they told you to go over World War I and World War II to fight for others and not be treated correctly for yourself, you bled. He said, when they sent you to Korea, you bled. But he said, now when it comes to righteousness for your people and to make sure that your people can be there, you haven't got no blood. Mm. And when I heard him say that as a little child, it resonated with me. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm saying you got to be willing to die, start shooting people, do all that. What I'm trying to say is that we don't like the journey. We don't like what comes with the journey. We want an expected end. We want freedom, but where is your cross? You were freed on the cross. There was suffering that took place for your freedom. That's why the Bible says you were bought with a price. Remember, even you are married to the Most High. It's talking about a dowry. Something had to be paid to be able to make sure that you were willing, that you were able to become a bride. You didn't just become a bride of the Most High just because you became a bride, because something was paid. And what was paid is asked for in return. Do you think that your husband, your husband, who's preparing a place for you, is preparing a place for you to be able to do whatever you want? He paid a dowry for you. The least you could do is prepare yourself for him. How do you prepare yourself for him, though, if you have no standard? See, we got a lot of husbands in name, in title, but a lot of husbands that lack standard. Yeah, I talk a lot about marriage. Why? Because the standard for marriage should be higher. And a lot of y'all dismiss marriage or talk about how much you don't want marriage or talk about how much you don't need it. And look, not everybody's called to it. But the reason why you don't want it a lot of times is because the standard of marriage you've seen is not our standard. It's like when somebody talks to me about patriarchy. My patriarchs don't look like your patriarchs. So you don't like patriarchs because you think patriarchs are Napoleon. You think patriarchs are Donald Trump. You think that patriarchs are Kanye West. You think that patriarchs are Brad Pitt. You think that patriarchs hate women, right? Because you live in a Greco-Roman society, and that's how their patriarchs operate. But in my culture, my patriarchs are people like Moses, who wouldn't even gone back to the children of Israel had his wife not made sure that she had made sure that he was circumcised. She was willing to put him in pain so that she wouldn't have to lose her husband. And it was her doing that that allowed him to even be worthy to go before the children of Israel. I won't have him go before the Most High and be a bloody husband. See, that's how our patriarchs work, because our patriarchs are nothing without our matriarchs. You said you were just talking about that earlier this rising. Why expect to arrive at a destination without going through a journey, right? And see, your journey that you're going on, you're mistakenly saying that it's an Israelite journey, or it's a biblical journey, or it's a Christian journey, or whatever, right? But you don't recognize, see, our journey for our patriarchs is different. In our culture, if I say ashach, which is the same as saying woman, or even saying, when she's at another level, saying wife. When I say wife, when I say woman, it's not yet my time. When Christ says that to his mother, when he says woman, it's not yet my time. Woman is one of the greatest things that you can call our sisters, because that means that she has gone through a journey to be and met certain requirements in order to be salvaged enough that she might walk into salvation of sisterhood. So she's not just, she's just not a regular woman out here. Woman means that she's gone through all the stuff. We wouldn't call her that unless she was at a certain level, because we respect ours. But when you hear somebody say woman, you think that they're demeaning you, don't you? Woman, I ain't just woman, be quiet in my house. Woman, blah, blah. That's what you think we're saying, because you have a different journey. You have a different culture. You have a different standard. You don't even think about culture when it comes to this. A woman in the beast is different than a woman in the kingdom of heaven. Aisha, is different than a woman in the world. Even the word world is cosmos with a K, K-O-S-M-O-S. And when we get back to this, Romans chapter 10, verse 9 and 10, you can't forget that to confess is different than what you think anyways. You think that confession means it's only what you speak. Confess. Con means one. Fess means to say what has been said or say what has been done, right? To fess up. So confession is to say what has been said and be one with it, or to say what has been done and be one with it. If I confess my sins, what I'm saying is I'm one with it. I take accountability and I'm willing to say this is what I did. So now what comes next? Repentance. There's a work that comes next, right? Even the word in the Greek, homologio, it means what? Homologio, to have the same logic, right? But here it doesn't say if we confess our sins, even though if we would confess our sins, he's faithful and just to us sins, and he will cleanse us of all unrighteousness. He will make you lawful again, cleanse, talking about sacrifice, cleanse the sacrifice, make it legal, right? But also here it's talking about what? Homologia, to have the same logic. So here it's talking about if you would have the same logic and become one with the Messiah, right? If you would confess the Lord, Yahshua, if you would confess, if you would have the same logic, if you would speak what he speaks, we literally broke it down in Matthew 5, 10 through 12, Matthew 5, 17 through 20, Matthew chapter 7, verse 12. He literally said that he's about law. If you would confess what he confessed, then he is your Lord. That's what that means. If you would say what he said, if you would say what he's done, if your life would speak up to what he's done, then he becomes your Lord. And by the way, even in our culture, see, this is something, once again, we have to be careful, because I know that there's chauvinism or male chauvinism. I know that there's patriotism. I know that there's patriarchs out here. I know that misogyny is real, right? I know it's real. But so you must comprehend, in our culture, I'm not even saying, because my wife didn't call me this, but I'm saying in our culture, right? It's okay if the wife calls her husband a word that y'all wouldn't want to hear. But there are wives in the Bible who called their husband Lord. Now, why do you think they called him Lord? Do you think they called him Lord because they said that he's the Most High? No, they didn't say Lord, all caps. They didn't even say Lord, capital Lord. They called him Lord, Lord, lowercase l. Some people don't even know the difference between that in this Bible you read, because we don't recognize how many cultures have been just thrown in here and what the reign one is, right? But she called him Lord because because he is the Lord over a household. And if he's doing what the Lord told him, right, that means that she's not submitted to him. She's submitted to the mission he's part of. And if the mission he's part of is the Lord of Lords, then she has no problem saying, okay, when I see you, I see a reflection of the Lord. And she placed him higher. I've said this before, I'll say it again. My wife is supposed to be, according to Ephesians chapter 5, right? She's supposed to be sanctified. She's supposed to be set apart. You will never hear me on here talking about my wife this, my wife that, and she bad and blah, blah. And y'all won't even believe what she did to me yesterday and what she did to me 10 years ago, what she did to me 2 days ago. Because why? Because she's set apart. The only thing that I present to you is what? The washing of the water by the word. Every word that I speak is to wash her. What is washing doing? Lawfully making her correct. It's legalizing what she's doing. It's making her, it's perfecting her. Washing of the water by what? The word. Every word that I speak is coming from something higher than myself. It's coming from my husband. I, as a husband, have a husband who is the Most High. Therefore, I learn as he talks about me great and never has to keep bringing up all my stuff and make y'all feel bad and this and that. Well, I would always set her to the side. I will always sanctify her. She is the greatest woman that ever walked the face of this planet, and you will never hear anything to make it look like she is not. Why? Because she's set apart. And if I set her apart, right? I'm not even saying I expect this, because she doesn't do this. She doesn't say it. But if I set her apart, then guess what? She might treat me like a Lord, because I reflect the Lord, the real Lord, in my life. A lot of men want to lord over women as a destination, but you have no journey to even get you to realize that you don't lord over anybody. True leaders don't lead people, they lead environments. You know, a woman like that, praise God, right? True women don't lead people, they lead environments. If my environment is great, then my wife wants to stay in the environment. My wife is not here just because of me, because I got some issues. My wife is here because she sees that I take care of an environment. People listening to me, right, all over the world, and even if they have our stuff taken down for the moment, and we don't have the numbers we get, or we have all the numbers in the world, people aren't listening to me because I'm better than them. They're listening to me because they like the environment. Amen. And you're right. Every husband should feel like that about his wife. And if she is the greatest and she should be sanctified, once again, if that's the destination, I have to now go back and write out, okay, she must be set apart. What does that look like for my wife? Not for every wife, but for my wife. What does that look like? Because I can't treat my wife the way that you might treat yours. Yeah, we might have some similarities, but that's my wife and that's your wife. How you doing, Minister Moselle? Thanks for being on. You see what I'm saying? So it's a cultural reference, and people don't want to look at the Bible as being holy or holistic. My wife gets something that otherwise don't get from me. That's period. That's on everything. On everything I love, on everything you love. right? I don't want to swear by that, but y'all get what I'm saying, right? We should not swear by anything. We should swear by our word. Let our yea mean yea and our nay mean nay, right? That's a cultural reference, but we don't like the journey. So we keep trying to microwave this stuff. We keep trying to figure out, how do I make it as fast as possible? This is till death do us part. And even after death do us part, this is something that's for eternity, because once my wife and I make it to the other side, no matter if that's because I passed away and then she comes after I do, or if that's because we both are because the sky crack open, whatever, we will still praise y'all together in heaven. There is no separation of us ever. So I live my life now as there is no separation of us. Like I've said before, it's very rare. I still, has been years. There have been times it's come close. If you ever see my wife and I separate from each other, especially on a trip, if I go on a trip and she's not there, something serious has to be going on. My whole life is prepared for my wife to be there every step along the way. I'm all in. I'm all in. And if I even do have a circumstance where I go to something and my wife's not there, guess what? She's gonna have to be there on FaceTime or something. Or she's gonna have to be recording so she can watch it. She needs to be there in some way, shape, or form. Just because I'm there, by the way, we become one. So she's automatically there. Just because she's not on this live with me, she's on the live, but she's not right now sitting next to me. It doesn't mean that she's not here, because we speak this stuff all the time. I'm speaking what we speak back and forth. People keep saying, man, it seems like you're getting more into nature and you're getting more into herbalism, things like that. Yes, because my wife is a herbalist. I can't help it. Even if I don't pay attention to it like as much as like she's doing, it's only a matter of time before it has to come up in my mind. You said, sorry to interrupt. Can I tell you that the young girl asked for the head of John Baptist? I'm sorry, what about her, Sister Monica? I apologize. Yep, Proverbs 18:22. That's what kind of got us to in this. Sister Iska said somebody was bringing up, "He who find a wife findeth a great thing and obtaineth favor from the Lord." I'm sorry, Sister Monica. I don't know the exact question or exact place that you're going with it. If you don't mind helping me out a little bit with it. Can I tell you that the young girl asked for the head of John the Baptist? I'm not exactly sure what we mean by that. Why did she ask for his head? Um, oh, well, I mean, really, to even tie it into what we're talking about with the wife, she asked for his head not because she even wanted it. Her mother wanted it, right? And her mother was the wife of this husband. Now, the husband was supposed to be a great figure. See, this is how husbands and wives can easily affect each other. Husband's supposed to be this great figure, leader of an environment. He got to follow the rules and regulations, all this stuff, right? So this wife doesn't like John the Baptist. The husband loves John the Baptist, even though he's got him in prison. But he would stop what he was doing all throughout the day, and he'd come and he'd just listen to John preach about the word, and preach about the word, and preach about the word. But the person that he happened to be one with, his wife, doesn't like John the Baptist. So all of a sudden, he says he sees his daughter, and his daughter dances and does this great dance and makes him look great in front of everybody. And so he says, man, that was excellent. You made me look great. Anything you ask from me. That's why you have to be careful, right? You got to be careful. He says anything. The daughter didn't want it, right? But the daughter was just being obedient to her mother and her father. And she gives something that's cultural. The father was great, and he is pleasantly pleased. He says, anything you ask for, I'll give it to you. And the mother, his wife, the one who, at least we would assume it's his wife, right? She goes to him. She goes, up. This is what I've been looking for, a way to be able to destroy John the Baptist. And so she goes to the daughter and says, since he asked that, she says, make sure that you ask for his head on a platter, right? She says, make sure that you ask for his head on a platter. Make sure that you ask that he die, the thing that I wanted. And so now you have this ruler, if you will, this husband who's sitting there, and he doesn't really want to do what it is that he's asked, but because he's a king, he's over an environment, he's got to make a decision. Am I willing to look bad and have everybody look down upon me because I won't give what the daughter asks, even if it's gruesome or whatever, or grotesque, no matter how grotesque, gruesome, it is. And at the end of the day, he decides to do what is asked. to please the daughter, and ultimately knows that he's probably pleasing his wife. So now he brings the person whom he loved to get a word from. Now he kills him. And sometimes you got to be careful. See, this happens a lot. There are religious leaders or pastors or camp leaders or whatever. There are people that you work with or whatever that you got to be careful. There's people that don't like family. There's people that don't like your family. There's people that don't like your spouse. And they're going to use something that's attached to you to be able to try and cause contention, right? This is something that even I've had to look at a little bit recently in my life and have to make sure. And so I always have things in place, even though I'm going to be there and love my family, take care of things. There's certain things that I have to make sure is like, all right, I'm going to move, but I'm not going to move in a manner in which somebody might be trying to control, right? Somebody who is not even part of my life and is really an enemy, right? But at the same time, they're family or considered to be family in some way, shape, or form. And now they're trying to use and manipulate family, possibly. I don't even know, but it's a possibility that I have to look at and say, maybe they're trying to mess up my home. And so even though my end is to say, I'm going to always take care of my family, I have to also be careful about the journey. Is this going to mess my family up? And so I prayed and I've thought about it and things, and there's still some things that I'm willing to go through and do and stuff, but I have to make sure, hey, I'm not going to allow this blessing that the Most High has given me. So I'm going to make sure everything we do is in accordance. I'm going to be very careful because I have love for this person that's coming to me and requiring something they're asking, but I also have to realize they might be being sent by somebody. I'll leave it there. But you see what I'm saying? You got to be careful. I'm not talking about any of y'all, by the way, right? This is legit family thing, family issue, things from me not being righteous and correct in the beginning of my life or towards the beginning of my life that are popping themselves up. And so you can have some ties that begin to pop themselves up if you're not prepared, if you're not ready. How you doing? Is it Miss Shannon Pounds? Mrs. Shannon Pounds? Thanks for being part of the community. So you got a lot of people who are talking about things, but once again, see, people love, like we often, the journey is often underrated. How you doing? Yahoo, be the truth. The journey is often underrated. It's often underrated. Make sure that your journey is going to an expected end. Write out the vision and make it plain upon the tablets that the people who are coming up to read it, they can run with it. Because if not, it causes some confusion. There you go, constituents, confidants, comrades. Yeah, and you'll confuse the constituent for the comrade for sure, because the constituent is for you. I'm sorry, the confidant. Excuse me, the confidant and the constituents are very similar because the confidant is for you, but the constituent is for what you're for. And a lot of us have, and we don't realize we have very few confidants our entire lives. You can have a lot of people with confidant energy, but we have very few confidants, people that are for us and only for us. Everything's about you, even if you don't want to hear it. I'm gonna give you the truth. And then we have a lot of constituents that are for you. I'll be what you're for. Or I'm not, they're not for you, they're for what you're for. I'll give you whatever's there, but then when I see there might be a better way, or I just don't like it, or I might have to commit more, or I might have to go through some suffering. I might have to be a long sufferer. This might cause me to have to like humble myself more than what I want. You start seeing, okay, I'd rather go somewhere else where this is easier. Yeah, I hear you, Brother Trevon. So we have to learn how to notice those demons fast and pivot righteously. Yeah, and watch this. If we live by law or we live by certain ways or certain boundaries consistently, if we live by them consistently, guess what's going to happen consistently? We'll be able to see those things consistently. Right? Like I've dealt with people who have said, oh, well, this and that or whatever, been very manipulative. If you do this, then I'm just going to end up homeless. If you don't answer my question, I'm going to do this. And I sit there and I've been consistent. And I used to like break everything. Oh my goodness, what happens? What if they hurt themselves? What if they end up on the street? What if they lose their job? What if they stop coming to church? What if they stop being part of this? What if they stop? Like I've dealt with those things over years. And what I found is that if I was always telling you this is what's going to happen, if I've been saying what the word says, if I've been living as a righteous example, if I've been there for you as best as I can, and something happens in your life to where something bad happens to you because you decided not to listen, not to me, but to the word that I've given. And if the word that I've given is always based off of the Constitution, the eternal Constitution, right? This is the eternal Constitution. If it doesn't even need amendments to it because it's always been righteous. If I've been giving you something that's always righteous and you end up deciding to do something that is not righteous because you wouldn't listen to what was righteous, then no matter what you keep trying to put on me, at some point I got to say, I don't blame myself for that. First of all, it's not righteous for me to blame myself for something I didn't do. That would be a lie, therefore it'd be sin. Secondly, Romans chapter 8, verse 1, I'm no longer in the condemnation, for I follow after the Spirit and not after the flesh. This is additional confirmation. Praise Yah. Amen. Right? Like, so I get to a place where it's like, yeah, I'm going through some tough times, this and that, whatever. I might go through. It might be even tough, and people know how to tug on your heartstrings. They know how to tug on your flesh. Right? Yeah, it does look like income. Right? But they know how to tug on your heartstrings. They know how to tug on your flesh. Just because they know how to tug on your flesh, right, doesn't mean that you give into the flesh, though. Just because they want to stop the journey, just because the end for you that you want, right? Because get this, there's the end that you want, and there's the end that shall be. I know at the end you want all your friends, all your family, all your constituents, all of your business to end up righteous. But there's an end that you want, and then there's an end that shall be. There's a way that seems right to a man, right? But it's not Yah's way. Like there's something, yeah, look, you want the end to be your children are going to do everything that you say, but your children have free will. You want the end to be that everybody who's part of your family is going to be able to get what you want, but they have to make a choice too. Yeah, that's the hardest part, controlling your flesh sometimes. Yeah, for real, right? Like, I know you have an expected end, but then what if, watch this, see, and this is where I don't want to sound like I have cognitive dissonance because I could come off double-minded. Hopefully you guys are following what I'm saying. Because have you learned even in your expected end to expect the unexpected? It's going to sound like cognitive dissonance, but hopefully you're staying with me. Hopefully you get the context. I can't give facts without context. I can't give context without facts. But prayerfully, you see what I'm saying, right? Do you recognize that you must even learn how to expect the unexpected? See, a lot of people don't even have it in their journey, in their planning. They don't even have it to where, what if somebody falls off? Right? Like what if your business is going to last 50 years, right? Or it's going to go 50 years from now and be one of the greatest things that anybody's ever seen in 50 years. What if the first 10 years of your business, nobody cares about it? One of the best advices I can give to somebody when they say, well, I'm thinking about a podcast, or I'm thinking about this, thinking about that, how should I go about it? One of the first things I have to ask them is, are you prepared to maybe have nobody listen to you, or maybe have 4 or 5 people, 12 people listen to you for years, maybe get up to 50, maybe get up to 100 people that listen to you for years before finally something breaks. And you've been getting better and stronger. And some of those people out of the 50 will have came and gone. But maybe you'll have about 10, 15 day ones that 5 years from now will be the people who you can look back with them, and they went on the journey, and you can say, man, I'm so glad for those 10 to 12. I have one wife till death do us part. My goal is to secure her. And everything that we've gotten since we've been together, we've gotten together. I love my wife not just because I'm supposed to love my wife. I love my wife not just because she's righteous, not just because she's fine as May wine, not just because she's outstanding, not just because she speaks words of encouragement, not just because I love my wife because when I was nothing, and nobody would give me the time of day, she always told me that there was greatness in me. So the manifestation of what I've seen, right? I know that Yah, of course, saw it in me. However, my wife was the person, and still is, with people who were supposed to be friends and confidants and constituents and comrades or whatever. When everybody else is frustrated by this or that, or says you this or blah blah, and she's the one that sees behind the scenes and stuff. And if y'all really want to know some of the stuff I need to improve on, you should probably know some things in my private life. Praise Yah, I don't have to tell everything about myself, right? But she's been there to see some things that are super concerning and still was there to work those things out with me and has been blessed by it and has not been blessed enough, which is why one of the reasons I continue to do this as much as I do is because that all of this stuff is going to verify her saying the great things she said about me. She decided to be my wife, even though she knew that while my vision and my mission was something she wanted to multiply, she knew that she was going to have to also help while multiplying the vision and the mission. She was also going to have to help to make sure that she separated me from sin. See, and a lot of brothers don't want that. You don't want a wife because a wife, she's gonna multiply mission, but she's gonna tell you about yourself sometimes. And a lot of brothers don't want that, right? And brothers are supposed to what? While she's doing that, we're supposed to set her apart, make her sanctified, keep her holy, right? And make sure that she's washed by the water of the word to speak word over her. If there's any spot or wrinkle on her, it's because I didn't wash her right. That's why I don't need to tell y'all any bad things or whatever. And some of the things y'all consider bad ain't bad anyways. That's why she's my wife and not y'all, right? You got to remember she's in submission to her own husband's mission, right? Not into everybody, not anybody else's her husband. She got two husbands. She got Yehovah, and then she has myself. And that's it, right? That's how that works. And so I'm supposed to make sure that she is without spot or wrinkle. And so if she's looking up to anything out of me and she multiplies something, if she's coming out wrinkled, she's multiplying my wrinkles because we're one. And so what's wrinkled on me is wrinkled on her. If it's a spot, if it's a blemish, if it's dirt on me, then it's dirt on her. And it's multiplied, which means that she carries more of the dirt than I do. So I got to make sure I'm clean so she can be clean. The cleaner I am, she multiplies that on herself. That's why my wife should always look better than I look and will always look better than I look. You know why? Because if I look all right, she better look beautiful. If I look handsome, she better be the most beautiful thing to walk the face of this planet. If I look better to some people than anybody I'll ever seen, then she better look better than anybody that's ever going to come into existence. Y'all don't want to go there. See, but that's heavy as the head that wears the crown. Stop getting into these relationships. Stop getting into things in life. Stop starting businesses, and you're not ready to do that. See, everything that I do is connected. Everything's one accord. That's why I go back to Proverbs 18:22. He who finds a wife. I didn't find a little girl. I didn't find a girlfriend. A lot of y'all got your little girlfriends out here. I don't have no girlfriend. That's my best girl. That's a bad thing to say. Why would that be your best girl? That means you got first best, second best, third best, fourth best. That's my baby mama. No. That's my wife. Because truth be told, anybody could be your baby mama. Why would you want her to be your baby mama? That's my wife. See, and if you would start separating her, maybe she would separate from some of the stuff that you call mess. Brothers even do some weird stuff. Man, if she would just act like so-and-so, and y'all ain't saying y'all want to be with so-and-so, but y'all are saying that so-and-so has a standard. She would just act like so-and-so. You don't want her to act like so-and-so because you ain't married to so-and-so. You need her to be your wife. Your Bible even declares that every husband's first responsibility is his wife over and over and over again. If you desire the office of a pastor, you desire a great work. But first, he must be what? Come on, somebody. You know your word. If you desire the office of a pastor, you desire a great work. But first, he must be what? Come on, help me. I'm just asking you what's in your word. If you desire the office of an assembler, you desire a great work. But first, you must be the husband of what? Of one wife. If you can't be a husband, you can't be a pastor. Ooh, ooh, they don't like this. So many pastors. See, and look, I comprehend it because look, I've told people this before. I got to be careful what I speak and what I teach to y'all. Because if I'm teaching this to you, then guess what? If I ever do anything deserving of myself losing my wife, if I ever do something and I'm the reason, if I'm the culprit, right? My marriage is gonna last forever on my end because I'm gonna do whatever it takes, and I know my wife can do whatever it takes. I'm not stressing it, but I got to be careful what I speak because if I speak this to you, then it means that if I ever do anything that causes my wife the right to be able to ask for divorce, guess what that means? That means that I am not worthy of being a pastor. At least I'm gonna need to sit myself down somewhere for a second till I get it together. Right? You want the end game, pastor, but there's a journey. What are we talking about today? The journey is often underrated. People underrate the journey, but you want the success. Matter of fact, how do you become a success and you don't have successors? Your wife should be your first successor. You should ask yourself, why doesn't your wife sound like you? And I said a wife. Once again, see, we didn't find wives. So now we're in the process. What we have learned how to do, we're learning how to try and help people become wives and help people become husbands. And when you found her, you should have been looking to see if she was a wife. And when he found you, you should have been looking to see if he was a husband. You said having two wives after one divorce disqualifies you from being a pastor. No, if you have a wife now, first of all, I would probably suggest that if you had two wives prior, you probably had you probably weren't necessarily a husband yet, and you probably weren't dealing with wives. But now that you're in the position to do so, then you got to make sure that what? Now that you're in a position to be a husband, make sure that you're being there, right? I'm not saying that everything's always on the husband or on the wife or whoever's in the position of whatever, or the minister, the pastor, the bishop, the presiding prelate, the apostles, whatever you want to call yourselves, right? I'm not saying, right? Right. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying, like, ultimately, if you're going to be a pastor, the first thing we should look at how you treat your spouse. If your marriage broke up because of you, let me say it like that. If you the problem, right, and you or in your life, right, if you cheating on your wife, or in your life you're not making sure that your wife is fed a word, and may I say this to you, sisters, because it's something that's going to bless you. If you have a husband and he starts giving you the word, and you're like, I don't want you preaching at me, this and that, or whatever. No, you need him preaching at you, because if he won't preach at you, he shouldn't preach to anybody else. Now the question is, does he practice what he preaches? I guess you, but right. But if he's giving you a word, the word is the word. I've said this before, I'll say it again. If I'm in a fight with my wife somewhere and somebody get the LGBTQ plus and they come up and they walk up to me and they say, hey, you should honor your wife. You should be willing to die for her. Why are you treating her like that? I can't turn around to that person and say, I mean, I have free will, but it doesn't make sense to turn to that person saying that I believe in the Bible and say, man, who are you to talk to me? You're not even in your Bible. You're not even living what you're supposed to live. No. If they give me the word, they gave me the word. You see what I'm saying? But once again, if we're going to talk about that life matches up, that's a different conversation, sure. However, if you're right, if you are saying it's hard for you to listen to the word because of the way they live their life, I get that. But hear what I'm saying. Don't make it automatic that just because they're giving you the word, you don't want to listen. Don't preach at me right now. Blah, blah. This don't need preaching. This need blah, blah. Okay, if you're saying that he needs to fix some life behavior stuff, sure. But you can't deny the word. The word is there for a reason. Right? The word is there for a reason. You like to listen to Psalm 23. David ain't a great example all the time of a husband. He's a murderer. He took somebody's husband. How you doing, Pastor? But y'all love Psalm 23, don't you? You know why? Because it's the word. You know that the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restored my soul. He leadeth me down the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest my head with thou preparest my head. Thou preparest a table in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anoints my head with oil. My cup runneth over. You love it. Surely his greatness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the family of Adon forever. You love that scripture. Why? Because it's the word. And you can compartmentalize, hey, David, I might not always be able to get down with everything you say about marriage, even you got some word there, but I can listen to you talk about the Lord is my shepherd. I apologize. It's not my intent. The shoe fits if it doesn't take it off. It's not my intent to make anybody feel bad. I'm just trying to tell people, once again, we normally will normally the journey is underrated. We have the propensity, we have the ability to underrate the journey. Right? And you'll miss the expected end because you haven't even learned to expect to write out the unexpected. What is right? Your spouse, your brother, your sister, your pastor will disappoint you at times. Have you written that in? Do you have forgiveness? Do you have mercy? Is it part of grace in your life? Somebody will disappoint you. How you doing? Live to be great. Somebody will say something that makes you mad in the moment, but then a couple months later, you might realize it's the best thing they ever told you. Somebody might do something on accident. Have you written out what you don't expect? See, a lot of the stuff that's happening to you is just unexpected. We have this weird philosophy. If I get in a friendship with somebody, they'll never hurt me. What? Here's the goal. Here's the goal that really you should work towards in your friendships and your relationships. Can I have a relationship with somebody where I expect them to hurt me, but I've already forgiven them for what I expect them to do? Rather than I expect this person to hurt me so bad that they'll cause my relationship to end. No, I expect that this person will always mean to do well by me. However, because they're a human being, they will fall short. And when they fall short, as long as they're falling short trying to do what's best for me, I will always be ready to tap into forgiveness. And even if they do something that's heinous, I can forgive them and then figure out if I want to build trust back up. See, a lot of people are walking around with hurt and anger and frustration because you had it in your mind that somebody would never do you wrong. I'm not saying cheating. See, and we go straight to adultery or we go straight to fornication, right? I don't know. I'm talking about you're going to have somebody who's going to speak something and in your love language, it hurts, but that's not their love language. So if your love language is words of affirmation, somebody else's is acts of service, right? You speaking, I love you. I adore you. I thank you so much for being in my life. I appreciate you so much. And they like those words, but they don't love those words. They love actions. You like actions, but you don't love action. So even though you do certain things, they're waiting to see, well, why isn't this fixed? Why didn't you do this first? Why do you do this for others, but you don't do it for us? And in your mind, you're like, I'm loving them. I'm telling them all these great things. But in their mind, their love language is you haven't done anything yet. That hurts. That doesn't mean that they hate you. It just means that they don't speak the same love language you do. So now you got to ask yourself a question. Am I doxing people just because they don't speak what I speak? And have I taught them, have I had conversation with them even before we got together? Did we make it a point to have honest conversation about these are the actions I require? Somebody else's love language is gifts. So you're so busy not giving them gifts. And every time they ask for a gift, you're like, oh, see, I can't stand all these pigeons out here, all these chicken heads out here, all these gold diggers out here. They just want. You can give that person a flower. You could buy that person, get that person every once in a while, get them a Starbucks card if that's what they drink. right? You could go to the store and get $4 bouquet, $5 bouquet of not of six flowers. Even if they weeds, it's better than nothing. You could write a card and just say like, hey, here, do your whole thing, put it, put in a little bucket or something like that, and shift them around or whatever, write some stuff, and they pick something. Every Friday they get to pick something. It's a massage. It's getting your nails done. It's going for a walk. It's exercising together. It's laying down and spooning, right? Different things. Find out what their love language is and put it all in there, right? That's a gift. That's a gift, right? And instead, you busy saying, oh, they're a gold digger. No, they like gifts. And you know how you can tell they like gifts or love gifts? They love gifts because they love to give them. They're always giving you something. They're always giving you the shirt off their back. They're always giving you that. They're always giving you that. So that's their love language. So give them some gifts and see what happens. And when you give them their gifts, if your love language is acts of service, see if they don't start doing more acts for you. And thank you for the love. Appreciate it. Right? Like these are things that we should recognize. Okay, amen, Minister Shante. We got your back. Y'all humans are crazy. I'm so glad I'm perfect. Right? You see what I'm saying? Like, what if your love language is quality time? Don't even care what you say. Don't even care what you do. Don't care if you give me any gifts. Give me 30 minutes a day. Just sit in the same room with me. You can even watch the game. Just sit in the same room. And every once in a while, tell me something about myself. And thank you for that, Sister Nadine. Appreciate it, right? Like, just give me some quality time. She might not even care what you give her. She keeps saying you don't love her. You're like, but I speak words of affirmation. She says I don't love her. But I did this around the house. I did that around the house. She keeps saying you don't really love me. And you say, oh no, I gave her a gift. I took her to this. I got her this from Tiffany's. I made sure I got her that Gucci bag. I made sure that I was on one when I took her to a favorite movie. I made sure that I took her to Benny Hanna's and everything. And she said, you don't love me. She's saying I need quality time. That might be her love language. And hello to George Gitz or somebody was trying to get on. I don't know the name, so I apologize. I don't know what you would like to talk about. If you'd like to tell me what you'd like to talk about, let's go ahead and get it in and see if it's something that's there. Right? Then you might have a love language that's what? You might have a love language that's physical touch. He always thinking about sex. That might be his love language. It's physical touch. Fine, you ain't got to lay down in the bed with them, but fine. You're so busy saying he always thinking about sex. Do you touch his neck every once in a while? Do you hold his hand? Right? You mess around and change the game on him. Do you rub his feet? Do you sit on his lap every once in a while? Even girls in high school understood that. Now you became a grown woman, you forgot. Or that might be her thing, physical touch. Come on, right? Like this is stuff, but we're so busy. Once again, we don't care about the journey. We just want the end. I just want the love. Well, what's the journey look like? Because if you marry somebody, or if you get in business with somebody, watch this, you get in business with somebody, they might be physical touch. So guess what you need to do when you see them? Dap them up first thing, or give them some hugs, or shake their hand. Pat them on the shoulder when you're talking about this. Don't just go, well, in the outline it says this. Pat them on the shoulder. Hey, on the outline it says da da da. Right? You need to know some things about yourself and about your culture, about your people, about the way you're designed. Yeah, you got to take that time to learn who you're in with. So whatever you do to get them, then that's what you should do to keep going. A lot of times, yes, for sure. And by the way, what if your spouse or your person you're working with, or your child or your sister or your brother or your associate, whatever, what if they grow into different love languages where they had to use love languages at one point, but they realized, wait a minute, that wasn't even who I was. Now that I'm becoming who I am, this is what I desire. Are you willing to change as they change? I do not speak the same way at 40 as I did when I was 12. I spoke well for a 12-year-old, but as a 40-year-old, there's been some things that have changed in my life. I don't operate in the same manner as when I was single as I do now that I'm married. right? So I'm a different person. I don't operate as somebody who had no children. I don't operate the same as somebody now who has children. So I've changed on this journey. I still have the end, but there's some things with my expected end. There are some unexpected things that happen on the journey. I expect the end, but the journey has brought up some unexpectations, if you will. There's some things that are unexpected that have happened on the journey to me becoming what was expected. My mother said, "You're great." My mother said, "You're going to preach a word." My mother said, "You're going to be awesome." My mother had me walking around door to door with elders at 4 years old, giving a word, 6 years old, preaching in front of people. My mother let me walk away from being a Jehovah's Witness and said, "I've trained you enough that no matter what it is, you're going to come into the truth." I didn't expect, or she had an expected end for me. She didn't know what to expect along the journey, but she said, "I sowed enough into you that even through the unexpected, you'll be able to get to what it is that I taught you, boy. Go get it." Amen. Well, we can talk about that offline, I guess, some Sister Tissue, right? But I'm just saying, right? Like, there's somebody who sat. So you got to be saying sat. There's somebody who's given you something and spoken something, even in your life. You used to speak things over your life, and some of y'all just stopped expecting it, stopped expecting that vision. You stopped looking for that vision to come into being because some unexpected stuff happened. I expected to give a word like this yesterday, but the unexpected happened starting on Monday evening, and it took me through, and it's still kind of doing some stuff. It's going to take a minute to correct itself, but just because I'm going through something that's unexpected doesn't mean that you just are going to get what's expected. It just means that what I expected to give you on Monday night or Tuesday, it was unexpected. I give it to you today, but it is what it is. You see what I'm saying? Like, this is, I might not have expected to do it today. The journey is something that's there, but that's why you got the Holy Spirit. That's why she's leading you. You don't know what's about to happen in 2 minutes. This is a mighty word. What if the enemy were to cut it off? The journey, just because he cuts it off doesn't mean the journey stops. Money stopped coming in. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna keep moving. The journey didn't stop because the money stopped. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm without a house. I'm gonna keep living. You think that the only way to live is without a house? Or is with a house? Keep living. Because I still haven't reached the end. And when I reach the end, what I found is every end to a journey is the beginning of a new one. Ah, see, this is eternity popping in. Every end of one journey is the beginning of another one. That's why they used to have a saying in church. It was go something like this. They used to say that you're coming out, or I'm sorry, either you're going into a storm, you're in a storm, or you're coming out of a storm. Either way, the storm is still relevant to where you are. The storm is an indicator, it's a testimony, if you will, to where you are. I thank Yah for the storms. I thank Yah for those parts of the journey. Why? Because it shows me where I am, who I was. When I had that storm that popped up before where I didn't know what was going to happen with money, I used to totally be out of it. But when you end up on the street, when you end up looking at the stars on the pavement, when you end up getting so cold to where you've gone into hypothermia and you think you're going to die and don't even realize that it's wet where you are. And so now your blanket is wet and you're frozen in hypothermia and you think that's it. And you just say, well, if this is it, I praise y'all that I've been able to know the truth. And then you wake up. You don't look at death the same way you did before. You hear what I'm saying? Like, the journey is an indication of where I am. So now when I go through a similar storm, when somebody says, "Oh man, you know what? Our bills are behind. Our bills are behind are not even worthy to be compared to the glory that was revealed when I was wrapped up in a cold blanket outside and didn't think I was going to live." So if I can live through that, bills being behind ain't as much a chore. I'm not saying that I don't need to get things back on track to make sure the bills get caught up. What I'm here to tell you though is that that's not as much a concern. How you doing, Sage? How you doing, Brother TJ? Yeah, some things has to happen before so the glory can be revealed. There you go. Romans chapter 8, verse 18. Right? Your journey reveals the glory. Once again, you want the end, you want the glory, but you don't want the journey. The journey reveals the glory on your way. It's glory to glory, is it not? Right? Y'all remember that song? It's in scripture too, but glory to glory to glory to glory to glory to glory to Yah. Right? Y'all remember that song? And they, right? To the only Yah, our Savior, with majesty, dominion, and power, forever and ever be glorified. Right? It's glory to glory. Don't get stuck in the in-between. Matter of fact, be thankful for the in-between. To want to get to the destination without taking the walk? Yeah. You hear what I'm saying? It's the what is it? It's the dash, right? I don't even know who originally said this. This is a saying that's been going on for a long time. I know Minister Nice preached on this somewhat recently. I might be getting like a year ago mixed up with something, but I know she somewhat recently talked about this. But there's an old discussion that talks about the dash. There's the date that if you look at somebody's tombstone, right? You said the audio's been lowered. I don't know what happened with that. I apologize for that. How you doing, Austin? But hear what I'm saying. If you go to somebody's tombstone, normally what will happen is you'll see the person's name. Maybe you see a quote about them. But you'll see a date that they were born. You'll see a date that they died. But the most important part of that whole tombstone is the dash. 1777 to 1854. That dash. Why do we say that's important? Because the only reason we're showing up, you hear what I'm saying? The only people that are showing up to that tombstone is not because of the day that you were born into this world, even though we know you existed before you were born. And it's not the day that you left this world, even though we know you still exist. People are showing up because they have an attachment to the dash. Right? People are not showing up to your tombstone just because your name is there. They're showing up because they have an attachment to the life that you lived. They want to see the dash. They saw the dash. See, people, when they show up, and look, I don't know, people will show up. I don't know what's going to happen to my body. I've already asked for certain things to be done, but I know my wife's going to end up, and she's already told me certain things she wants to do with my body. And hey, at the end of the day, when I'm gone, hey, my spirit is somewhere else. So you do what you do, right? But if my body, ashes, whatever, is put on display somewhere, somebody can see a tombstone somewhere after I'm gone. I need you to comprehend this. People are not going to show up, or when people read books about me, or people look up something online about me, or people see a video, or people listen to children of Israel, or people listen to SOC members generations from now. They're not going to be talking about 1982 until whenever, right? My prayer is that it'd be 1982 until about 2130. 2132. That's my prayer. I know that seems long for some, but that's what my prayer is, right? However, whatever that ends, whenever my life ends, at least this version of life ends, people are not on here, right? People are not going to be online and stuff talking about the day I was born. They might mention it, but that's just to say he entered into this life at this point. They might say the day that I passed. That's just for them to say he stopped living this version of life at that point. What they're going to talk about, everything else is going to be in between. And hey, how you doing, Sister Latoya? I missed you on YouTube coming on in. Right? And you got to start asking yourself the journey. See, you keep talking about the beginning or the end, but what about the journey in between? People are coming for your fruit. And even when I'm gone, they're coming for my fruit. My fruit is what was given out by my life. People aren't looking forward to listening to me just because there's something that's happened in the dash. There's something that made them take notice. What about your life is going to make somebody take notice? What about your life is going to help people to take notice of you? What have you been called to? Your gift shall make room for you and bring you before great men, bring you before kings, bring you before presidents, bring you before monarchs, bring you before government officials, and they will have to bow down to what it is that you speak. I get invitations to go to places and speak or to play music or do things like that. Why? Because it's the gift. The journey is helping me to prepare. The end is to get before the great men, but the gift has to be developed. My life is developing stuff. How you doing, Countess? You said, what if you don't want to be noticed? Well, I mean, I don't know. Why is that? What about your calling says that you should never be noticed? I'm not saying you can't say things, but do things behind the scenes. But I mean, what about your life says that you shouldn't be noticed? Or what about your gift or calling means that you should not be the light, right? Light of the world. I'm not saying you got to be always up front. You got to be the preacher. You got to be the number one. I'm not saying you got to be Gladys Knight. You can be the Pips. You can be the drummer, giving a funky beat. You can be on the guitar, making sure that you sing, giving some syncopated rhythms. But something that you do should bring some light. Going right back to the same Sermon on the Mount we were talking about with all the stuff Yeshua says about law. Go back to Matthew chapter 5, verses 13 through 16. It says what? It starts off by saying that you are the salt of the earth. Now, I'm not saying this in particular to the person that asked the question. So please, whoever it is, how you doing, Ism Born? I'm not saying this exactly to you. I think it's Sister Nancy that said it. So forgive me. I'm not coming at you on this, but I just want to go back to this, right? Let's go back to the Sermon on the Mount. We were talking about Matthew chapter 5. Let's look at Matthew chapter 5, and we're going to look at verses 13 through 16. And if y'all want to go there with me, I'll wait. If you want to say, I got it, I'm with you, amen, I'm listening, etc. Yah prepares the table before in front of some things that must be seen. There you go, right? Because your enemy is going to have to see some of this stuff. Some of us are afraid to go back in front of our enemies, but you know he prepares the table. That's Psalm 22. I'm sorry, back to Psalm 23, verse 5. Right? He prepares the table in the presence of thine enemies. There's some places you got to eat where your enemies will have to be the ones that pour into your cup. I know you don't like it because your enemies will have to pour into your cup, but recognize when they pour into your cup, it's them, even though they don't want to pour into your cup, they have to, because you're the one who's being honored. Right? Right? So let's go. And I saw the question about purpose. I'll see if I can fit that in there. I saw you, King. Well, let me just be obedient real quick. Matthew chapter 5. Let's start at verse. I'm sorry, I said verse 12. Let's start at verse 13. Excuse me. Matthew chapter 5, verse 13. Right? Ye. Now, what does ye mean? Remember, ye or you. Right? Remember, if you see thee, thine, etc. Thee, thine. It's saying, or even thou. It's talking about an individual. In this type of English, in this ancient English that we're using, it means individual. So they didn't walk around using thee, thine, thus, etc. They didn't say ye, you, ye all, things like that. But they did that in literature because they wanted people to realize the difference that they were talking about. So when it says thee, thine, that's saying an individual or an individual group. But it says ye or you, right? It's saying you all or multiple groups. Okay, so this is for everybody. Now, what's the context of everybody, though? This is for everybody who Matthew chapter, the Beatitudes we just came out of, right? Blessed are you who say that you're poor in spirit. You think you don't know as much in the spirit because the kingdom of heaven belongs to you. You can still go through a journey, right? Blessed are those that mourn, for you shall be comforted. You're still going through a journey, right? Blessed are you who are humble, meek, for you shall inherit the earth. You're going through a journey. Blessed are those which hunger and thirst after righteousness, right? Lawful standing, for you shall be filled. You're going through a journey, right? Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. Those who want mercy go through the journey of handing out mercy, et cetera, right? We get through all that, right? Even talking about being in the law, the prophets that came before us and all those things. Now here we go to verse 13. Ye, you all who are blessed, because you're going through this journey, ye all, you, the Sermon on the Mount, all those listening to Yeshua at this moment, and those of us that are listening to his words now, ye are the salt of the earth. So what's he say next? But the salt, if the salt is lost to savor, wherewith shall it be salted? You all are the salt of the earth. But if the salt is lost its savor, where shall it be salted? It is thenceforth not constitutional or not righteous or not of any value for nothing. No thing can it be used on, but what? It can only be cast out and to be trodden under foot of men. So if you see, we're used to a lot of salt now that doesn't lose its savor because it's been treated chemically. And some of it for a great purpose, by the way, because a lot of people don't, for example, if you get the salt with iodine, a lot of people have thyroid issues because you don't have stuff with iodine. They don't grow plants correctly. Therefore, lack of iodine messes with your organ, and therefore, since your organ is messed up or whatever, you don't have anything to help out with your hormonal imbalance, right? Your thyroid is messed up, so now you don't have your hormones directed correctly. Matter of fact, the thyroid is basically a hormone, but now your body can't operate correctly, so you have all these other issues, all these things that they call diabetic, and this and that, and all this stuff because of whatever, right? So some of the salt that you have that comes with iodine, right? But you also, when they did that, you got used to seeing salt that doesn't have a shelf life. Back then, salt had a shelf life. You needed to use it correctly, and you need to use it within season, whether you're preserving food, whether it was for flavor, whatever, you needed to use it. And it was not only just like that, salt was worth money, not just like, oh yeah, I'm going to the store and buy some salt. No, salt was money, basically. Like salt was currency. Somebody might trade me salt. If I gave them enough salt, I might be able to get a camel. Somebody gave me enough salt, I might get some clothes for that. Somebody gave me enough salt, I might get some land. Because salt was extremely important, especially without refrigeration. Salt was necessary. You couldn't eat without salt. You couldn't save food longer without salt. Sure, you could preserve in other ways, but if you were to eat certain things, you needed some salt in your life. Salt was medication. Salt helped to make sure that you could keep water in you longer, hydration. Right? So you are the salt of the earth. You are supposed to preserve. But if you lose your savor, right? If the taste of the salt changes, it also means that it can't preserve the same way. Therefore, it's not of any value for anything. What are you here to preserve? On this journey, what are you here to preserve? Praise God. Right? Verse 14, ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. You are the light of the world. Now, the world here is talking about this cosmos, not with a C, not C, not COSMOS, but we're talking about cosmos, KOSMOS. That means a system. Cosmos with a C is talking about the terraformer. It's talking about the physical cosmos. Cosmos with a K is talking about a system. Right? How you doing, Minister Tamara? So ye are the salt of the system. Now, whose system we got to ask? But see, people that are in the system, in the world, right? You are the light of that system. You are a light for them, right? People who are in darkness seeth the light and comprehendeth it not. But it doesn't mean they're not attracted to it. You see that? People who are the light, you see, you are the light. People see the light. People see a light, and they might not comprehend it, but they are attracted to it. Mosquitoes show up in the middle of the night looking for light, and they'll die if they don't comprehend it correctly. But it doesn't mean they're not attracted to it. Somebody who's in death, somebody who's in the world in this wicked system, they can be attracted to your light, but still not realize that they're in death, or not realize they're speaking death upon you. Don't be upset when somebody is trying their best to kill you, right? With their words. They think they're killing you with kindness, and they don't even realize that they're speaking death upon themselves. Be careful not to touch thine anointed, or Yahweh's anointed, especially, right, with your tongue. And how you doing, Queen Carolyn? So be careful. Be careful what it is that you're speaking. Be careful what it is that how you feel when somebody says something about you. You're the light of the world, but people in darkness can't comprehend light, so they're supposed to talk about you in a bad way. Somebody, watch this, somebody who's been in chaos in every relationship in their life, why would love look great? You mean every relationship you've been in, somebody been whooping your behind? If I come into your life and I don't try to whoop your behind, you're looking for me to whoop your behind. It might take 10, 20 years for you to finally realize he ain't put his hands on me yet. Right? I'm bringing light to some things, but it might take you a while. You've been in darkness for so long. Now somebody's turned on the light. This is why in our culture we don't say that just because you could preach a word, you came in to the culture and now you've been in for 7 days, we should just go ahead and make you a leader. That's not how that works. Somebody joins churches and a week later, because they make money, they say, let's make them a trustee. That's not how that works. They got to be trained. And we don't like, because once again, we're microwave. We don't like taking long on the journey. We want it to be instant. Matter of fact, now, amen. Nowadays, we gotten so used to, have you ever noticed that we're in such a microwave generation that we like to spend more time eating than we do preparing? Have you thought about that? We love to spend more time eating than we do preparing, right? Now, it used to be guaranteed that whatever you eat is come from preparation. But nowadays, if you can't eat it longer than what it takes you to prepare, we don't want it. Right? I don't care if it's frozen. If it's frozen, I should be able to put it in the microwave. It should take me no more than about 5 to 10 minutes to make, and I should be able to eat my meal. And we've decided that it takes more for the end result, for the eating, than it does for the preparation. But we don't even realize that that's cognitive dissonance. Come on, somebody. That's cognitive dissonance. Because see, you don't even recognize that the only reason it only takes you a few minutes to prepare in the microwave is because it's somebody else preparing it to put it in that position, in that state. So you're still having something that took somebody else effort. You just don't want to put effort towards it. So now everybody else has to prepare so that you can be unprepared and eat. Holy Spirit, have your way, because that was not even something I was thinking about. Look, we got to get out of this thing that says that we want to eat we want to eat and think we're worthy of eating because we're unprepared. You hear that? You have it in your mind that I should not have to prepare anything. I should pay to make sure that I don't have to be prepared. And that's why you think that Yehoshua died for you. You think that he died for you so that you wouldn't have to prepare. Come on, somebody. You believe in your heart, right? Not everybody, right? The shoe fits weird if it don't take it off. But there's a lot of folk that will argue you to death, literally. They are willing to die on the hill of being a city that's set on a hill, but never has to be prepared. You are a city set on a hill, and you think you're just set on the hill to not be prepared? Just because you're on a hill, do you think that you'll never be under attack? Come on, somebody, right? Come on, somebody. Do you think that just because you're the light, that darkness is not going to come looking for you? Do you think that just because you're a light, that you shouldn't be prepared to teach those in darkness how to deal with your light? Right? I'm trying to show you, you are the light of the world. The world is in darkness. You are the light. Don't only think about the end, think about the journey. We spend more time in microwave generations. We have gotten to a place as microwave generations, not just a generation anymore. Now we have about 3 generations that are used to microwaves. right? More so than waves. We are used to microcurrency more so than macro currency. We are used to doing stuff so that it feels quick in a moment, not realizing that being quick in a moment doesn't give us long-term results. So many people in microwave generations have become people now to where you have decided that it's more important to spend less time preparing than it is eating. And that's not how it's supposed to work. It should take longer to prepare than it should to eat. I don't know. I don't want to be part of this. It takes too long. It takes too much to be holy. You mean I gotta do this all the time? You mean I gotta love everybody? You mean I gotta pray for those that despitefully use me? You mean I have to change? I don't like changing. I should be able to be who I am forever. You can't even be that. You're not even designed to be that. I was talking to my son about this the other day. I was like, son, you know that your body is literally a new body like every few weeks. Maybe at the most every few months. Your taste buds every 2 weeks are not even the same. Your sperm every 2 weeks to maybe every couple months are not the same, right? So there's no way you couldn't even if you wanted to, you couldn't have in a 2 week period, right? Matter of fact, especially if you've gone ahead and all your sperms came out or whatever, but you couldn't even have an opportunity to have the same type of child with the same constitution twice. Impossible. You talk about I don't like the taste of this. That's because you've made a decision. Your taste buds aren't even the same. If you would fast, right? If you fast for a couple of weeks and you go back to eating, food doesn't taste the same, not just because your body is different, but also because your taste buds are not the same. And they've come back refreshed. They haven't even had a chance to come. So now you got to see, watch this. Some of you, if you would fast for 2 weeks, this is what would happen. As soon as you would try to eat again, food wouldn't taste the same, and your body wouldn't be going off of, hey, this is the past experience of taste buds. Your body would say, hey, according to this new standard of health and nothing touching us, if we're going to eat, hey, this thing is what causes positive, this is what causes negative, right? But we're so busy into not preparing. It's microwave generation stuff. We like the end, but we don't like the journey. And that's why we're talking about today, that often the journey is underrated. Oftentimes the journey is underrated. Right? Oftentimes the journey is underrated. One of the biggest things that's missing from a bunch of memories that your grandmama and them and your great grandmama and them used to cook. They can give you the recipe book right now. You want to know one of the biggest things is there? Your grandmama would snap the peas herself. See, there's some love missing from some of the stuff y'all used to do. Grandmama used to snap the pea. Grandmama used to grow the pea. Grandmama used to sing to the peas. She'd be outside singing songs to the Lord. She'd be outside. And guess who was listening? The food you were going to eat. Right? Like there's some missing ingredients. Right? There used to be ingredients. Like there weren't things sprayed on the food that took some of the love out. That's why people used to say, oh man, I could feel grandmama's love in that. There was a different mindset. Right? There was preparation. You said that you felt the love when she cooked. Yeah, because she literally took time out to make it. Her actions were based off of something different. You say, man, it used to feel so much different when grandmama and granddaddy, when they said that they loved each other. Yeah, because they were prepared. There was no microwave thing. Even when they did the courting and everything, when great granddaddy and them, when he would court great grandmama, guess what great granddaddy didn't used to say stuff like y'all say. Great granddaddy didn't used to be like, yo, pink hat. And great grandmama would turn around. Great granddaddy didn't meet great grandmama. Well, sometimes I'm not going to act like there was no juke joint or nothing, but for the most part, if you're talking about marriage, great granddaddy wasn't trying to find marriage at the juke joint or at the club. You know what I'm saying? And great granddaddy had to have standards. Great granddaddy had to be suited and booted. Even if he was poor, he couldn't show up looking poor because who he wanted to be with her forever he couldn't show up in that moment as who he was going to be forever. I'm sorry. He couldn't show up in that moment as anything less than what he was going to become. He had to have a standard. Great grandmama and great granddaddy knew how to forage for food. You said I'm sick or this and that or whatever. They said, okay, go out there and pick that. Go out there, go over yonder, and go look at this and go pick up that yellow flower. And then you're gonna see it next to that yellow flower, about half mile down from where Mary Sue lived. Go past where Mary Beth is too, and you're gonna see about half mile past that. You're gonna see that there's like a green onion that grow there. Pick that up and bring those together, and we're gonna mix them together. We're gonna give you a little turpentine too. Mix that in there, just a touch of it, just a hint of it. And if you sick now, you ain't gonna be sick after a couple hours, right? There was a preparation. They looked to prepare. They looked to prepare. Go over to your people, right? People try to say this is poor life. Go over to your people in whatever tribe you want to say you're indigenous to, and watch them make everything from scratch. Watch them start making dinner from the rising, and watch the sisters who have camaraderie who are sitting up there, and this is what we do. And the brothers, hey, and watch some of them out there, the brothers who still do, some of them do this. You got to go hunt for this and look for this or whatever. Watch them do all those things. Right? It's a different mindset that they have. Preparation is mandatory in their culture. May I say something that might even bless some of you? It might make some of you upset or frustrated, or a little irritated with me. That's okay. But this will bless you if you ever start doing this. May I give you a suggestion? May I speak a word over you? May your sacrifices, may your offerings to the Most High, may they be prepared. Because a lot of us don't even prepare for offering or sacrifice. We don't prepare to set aside hours in a day for the Most High's will. We don't prepare the offering that it takes to be able to make sure that we can offer up something to Yah, that He turns it into business. We don't prepare ourselves to make sure that we go to righteousness in our schools. May you begin to have preparation show up in your things that you offer to the Most High. And in preparation, watch this. It means it should cost you something. Remember, what does the word prepared means? P-A-R-E. It means to cut. Prepared means that it's pre-cut. So if I give you an apple, right? I don't even know if I have a knife or everything with me, right? But let me go ahead. Give me a second. I want to show you something that you never thought about being prepared. This is what prepared is. It's not even rinsed off or anything like that. So forgive me for being a bad example. I'm looking for a knife, though. Forgive me. Okay. Okay. So this, right? Everybody knows this is an apple, right? This is a knife. If I were to use this knife on this apple, it would be paring, right? I'd be paring it. Okay? Right? So why would I pare this? Question, right? We're talking about offering, we're talking about sacrifice, we're talking about something that cost me something, right? So if I pare this, why would I pare this? Why would I prepare this? Why would I prepare this? What's the point of preparing this? Why would you cut an apple? To share it with many, right? So and I apologize, my math's not going to be great on this. I'm not the greatest chef in the world, but this is just some simple stuff, right? So watch this. If I wanted to eat this, if y'all gave it to me, if y'all blessed me with this, we don't think about food like this. We don't think about everything like this. But if y'all blessed me with this, what's the first thing that I should be prepared to do? Let's stop making it mystical. Let's make it practical. If y'all bless me with this, what's the first thing I should be prepared to do? Don't nobody want to hear it, but it's real. Y'all gonna think that I'm trying to dig in your pockets and stuff, right? Yep, I didn't wash it. Like I said, bad example, right? But even before I wash it, what is the point of washing? Because that's part of preparation, if you will. What is the ultimate goal? If I'm preparing, what's the ultimate goal for me? Plant a seed, sure. So I can make sure the seeds are set to the side and all that. But what's the ultimate goal? Somebody still help me. Like, let's just make it, once again, let's just make it super practical. Like, right? Let's make it super practical. Let's just make it super practical. If I'm going to have this apple, matter of fact, let me just make sure because I'm probably going to eat it. Let me make sure I wash it. Hold on 1 second. At least rinse it. Yeah. So, right, but think about it now. Don't get to a place, you know what I'm saying? Think about the journey. Think about the journey. Think about the journey. Because before I can get to the end, right? Okay, this one wasn't that bad. I thought this one was going to have wax and stuff on it. This one doesn't. Praise y'all. It didn't look like it did when I got it. Okay, praise y'all. All right. So if I'm going to prepare it to eat it, to fill my hunger, right? There we go. Aslan, you got it, right? So if I'm going to eat it, if I'm going to even feed it to others, give it to people in my family, right? I've got to prepare it so that others might eat. But first things first, if I'm going to eat it, then what does that mean? Who gets to eat it first? Ooh. Who gets to eat first? If it's a blessing from the Most High and He's giving it to me and I'm about to prepare, we're going to cut this thing in a second. Yah gets to eat first. My husband, he gets to eat first. We don't think about this. That means, and if he gets to eat first, what do we call the first part of what he's going to eat? I'm not just talking about your money right now. I'm not talking about, stay with me now, right? What's the first, what does he need to eat? He needs to at least eat how much of this? He needs to get at least what? How much of it? That first fruit? He needs to get a tenth. He needs to get a tithe, okay? So here we go, right? So I cut it, right? I should have a cutting board on here. I don't want to cut it to my table, but it is what it is. I'll cut it in the air. All right. So I got a half, right? I could go ahead and we could eat this, and I can say, but what am I supposed to? It's still not prepared correctly, is it? It's still not prepared correctly. Because I could give him more, but I'm talking about just practical. Let's be practical. So I got to cut it again, right? So let's cut this again. So now I've got I've cut it. We got 4 parts, right? But that's not enough. See, it's still not prepared enough. Somebody be like, this is enough. I could just eat this. But it's not correct yet. See, you're so busy trying to get to the end to eat. Maybe you're so busy trying to get to the seed, right? The seed must be planted. So we could take out the seed right now. We could do that, sure. We could take out the seed, right? No problem. The seed needs to be planted. Some people might eat some of the seed or do some things with the seed to use it for medicine and things like that. But yeah, sure, we can set it aside to be planted. My wife saves seed. So no problem. We could easily do that. Make sure that we have some apple trees that grow in the future. No problem, right? That's 3 out of 4. You see, but he's got to go deeper. See, we're talking about being prepared. This is what this word means, prepared. All right, so I've taken the seeds out, but I still only got 4 pieces. Right? So I still only have 4 pieces. See, I like where you're going, Minister Shante. We're going to go there in a second. You already there, right? But I still got 4 pieces. So guess what I got to do again? I got to cut it again, right? So now I got 2, 4, 6, 8. Right? Got 2 now, right? 4, 6. I got 8 pieces of fruit. And technically, you could say because of all the seed that I cut, I got, I guess we can count the seed as 9, the fruit of the spirit, right? 9 pieces of the same fruit, right? But guess what? I got to cut it again because it's still not enough, right? So now I got to at least cut 2 of them in half again. So let me cut 2 of them in half again, right? So we have 9 pieces now. And let's make that 10 pieces now. So I have now 1, 2, I'm gonna put them down here in front of me. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of pieces of fruit that I'm going to eat. Now, out of the 10, I would give a tithe. I would give 1 to somebody else. I would give somebody else in the kingdom. Oh, thank you, babe. I saved the seeds over here to the side. Yeah. So I got, my wife brought this out for us. So we got 10 pieces of fruit in this bowl. Thank you. And so we got 1 empty bowl, right? Let's say this represents the Most High's bowl. I've got 10 bowls here. I got 1 empty bowl and 10. And this, and we're, once again, we're so quick to get to the end. I just want to eat. I just want to eat. You see how much it's taking just for preparation? Just for preparation. I still can't eat though yet. Because David said I can't give an offering to Yahweh unless it costs me something. So what I got to do is I've got to give Yahweh one of these pieces of apple, one of these pieces of fruit. Question now, y'all help me out. Which piece of apple should I give to Yahweh? Let's talk about it. See, preparation, the journey is key. Help me out now. Y'all help me. Which piece is his? You go in the place I'm going to go in the second mountain, right? But watch this. Which piece belongs to him? The first or the best or the one that doesn't have blemish, right? So let me look through this. Watch this. Which one would I eat? Which one's the most attractive to me? Watch this. Which one that is the most attractive to me? Oh, okay. It's already hit the air. They're getting brown a little bit. I'm not very picky, actually, in all honesty, but I do like fruit to look a certain way. So this one is the biggest. This one looks like it's the juiciest. And it kind of like hits my appetite the most. So instead of me eating it, I take it out of this and I give it to Yah, right? And he believes that because I did that, this is worth, right? This is worth just as much to him, or this is worth, right, giving him honor. And this is worth me keeping. You catch it? Right? I only got 1 in here. I've got 9 in here. But this 1 goes under him, which means it's worth more than the 9. You'll catch that? Why? Because this one cost me something. It cost me preparation. It cost me time. I had to be careful not to cut myself. I had to prepare it, which means I had to cut it. It also had to be holy because it's separated. It had to be separated from the other ones. Right? And also it is to be put into a storage container. Bring ye all the tithes into the storehouse. There might be meat in mine house. My family might be able to eat. So now my wife or my son or somebody I meet on the street, whatever, might be able to get this apple and they might be able to eat something that really I would have wanted to eat this first. But you know what? Since it cost me something to give up, right? If something cost you something and it's something that you wanted more than anything else, that means in your eyes, it was the most expensive. Catch it, right? I would have ate this first. So it actually, even though I'll eat the other 9, the one that got away, so to speak, might be in my mind. Like, man, it would have been really nice to eat that part of the apple. It really does. And your flesh even starts to kick in. You know what? Maybe I give it to my son, but he's not even awake yet. Like your flesh start getting in. Like, man, this is the biggest one. It tastes the best. It's this and that. You know what? Maybe I should just eat it. And then what do? Then you try to say, okay, I'll trade it for another one. No, I set this to the side. I cut it specifically. It's supposed to be there for somebody else to eat. Y'all's going to bless this way more than he's going to bless this. His blessings come focused. They come with expectations. So I set that to the side. And so now everything that I set to the side. But there's another way we could have looked at this too. I could have left it at 9, if you allow me to work backwards. I could have just had 9 in here, because there's also something that was cut first as well, right? Matter of fact, I'll put the one that I cut, but I'll put the stuff that we cut out when we were preparing from the inside. See, because the seed is more valuable than the fruit. You see the seed that we cut and left? This is more valuable than the fruit, because this can be planted and become generations. It can grow 30, 60, and 100-fold. If you give me 30 apple trees, isn't it more beneficial than 8 pieces of fruit or 9 pieces of apple? Which one's worth more, right? We don't even buy seeds, and they make it cheaper to buy the seed than it is to buy the fruit. But the reality is that the seed is more valuable than the fruit. Why? Because even though this gives me 9 pieces of something to eat, the 10th part is what's going to grow. Yeah, now it's inheritance. See, my great-grandchildren, if this was planted properly, my great-grandchildren could eat of this and never have to pay for an apple. And when I say they could eat of this, they could literally eat of this. I would not touch it because it's tithe. It's going into the storehouse. It's going into generations. Matter of fact, this is the tree lives to be able to make sure. Part of the reason the tree lives is to make sure that this exists, so that the tree might have more generations. The tree is more in tune with nature than we are, even though you yourself should be like a tree, right? Psalm 1, be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that in its season will give much fruit. But if it gives much fruit, then it should be fruitful. If a fruit is full of fruit, what does that mean? It's full of seed. So if I set this tent to the side and I don't touch it, and I let it sit here, really there's still a work, right? Because still it's not finished yet. What's required after this? I got to take this and I got to make sure that the flesh is gone, right? I got to make sure that the seed is dried. I might want to decide to plant the seed. I might have to take off the what do they call that flesh on the seed sometimes, babe? What do they call it? The coating, the seed coating. It might have seed coating. I might want to take that off, right? But at the end of the day, there's some work to be done to plant the seed. And this will take years to mature. But it doesn't mean that the seed, watch this. When I set this aside, when I set the seed aside, you might think that I set a seed aside. No, I set a tree aside. Yeah, and exactly. Thank you, babe. We set forest aside. Right? You're thinking that the tithe is just a piece of apple. The tithe is going to feed generations. Come on, somebody. You're thinking that giving your wife your best, your first fruit, your tithe, you're thinking that, oh, man, this just irritates. She always got to have my best. When's she going to give me my, you're thinking giving your husband, oh, I always got to give him. When he going to give? But you don't comprehend what you're sowing into your spouse is going to roll through 30 years down the road. If you realize that waking up and telling your wife that you loved her was going to help her realize 30 years from now that you loved her, why wouldn't you do that? But you say, the seed is given by your husband more valuable than the 10th I sacrifice. Because it all belongs to him. So whatever he sends forth does not come back void. Yeah, come on now. Think about this now. You hear what I'm saying? So I'm giving him my best. I'm giving him first. He got first fruit. I don't even need, watch this. I don't need the seed. What value does a seed have in my body? Is a seed? I'm not saying you should never eat seeds, but hear what I'm saying. I don't need the seed to eat as long as I have the apple. You're upset that he asked for the seed, but you're not even really like the seed's not going to fill you up. The apple will. The seed's not going to clean your teeth, but the apple will. He said, "Come when you're actually planting the seed, you're creating an inheritance, breaking generational curses." So amen, telling her you love her now can ensure your relationship lasts 30, 40, 50 years beyond. Come on, somebody. Amen. Thank you, babe, for that. Like you're worried about seed and you didn't think about the apple, right? I got to give him the seed. Yeah, plant a seed because you don't need it to survive anyways. Now, this is the problem. Once again, when we teach this stuff, this is why I say all the time, we got to keep teaching our people. We can't just tell them time and then not make sure they recognize how to do it. See, you got to invest, right? For sure. What are you sowing into? Right? When you get the apple, right? What are you sowing into? Because now that you got the 9, guess what? If you did that with every meal that you eat, if you did that with every dollar that you make, if you did that with every person that you meet, then I'm going to make sure that I give the best to Yahweh. And then I still got 9 out of 10 to play around with. A lot of y'all think, oh, I can't make it. I'm barely making it. I'm making the paycheck to paycheck. If I give you $100, I promise you, I've been homeless on the street with like getting maybe $10 in a week was an awesome thing. Okay. I'm here to tell you that $1 loss out of $10 in a week did not make or break me eating. See, it's not just faith needs to kick in, like reality needs to kick in. Amen. Sowing a seed is such a small act of faith that pays off dividends exponentially. Amen. Right? So I can't do it without Yahweh do with that seed. I've been fed now, generations can be. See, come on now. I need help. You heard that story, Johnny Appleseed, and you were inspired to plant. There you go, right? Like all it takes is a seed. If you, hey, I need faith. If you had faith the size of a mustard seed, these seeds are too big to be mustard seeds. You hear what I'm saying? A seed. He asked for you to give, right? He didn't even say give up all the flesh. You can eat this flesh. You can eat 90% of the flesh, right? But give up enough flesh that comes with some seed. Cut it out. How you doing, Brother Elijah? You need the seed. You need to sow a seed. Look, it don't got to be financially the SOC. We wouldn't mind it. Matter of fact, that's between you and the Most High. But I'm just telling you, you need to find a way to start sowing some seed. If you would sow some seed, you'd be surprised about some of the stuff that would start changing in your life. I used to have a saying, and some of y'all have the same saying. I used to say, I can't afford to sow a seed. And then what I started doing is when I was broke, I'm talking about, once again, when I had $10 in a week and I had to give $1 a week, I used to be embarrassed sometimes. Wouldn't even make $1. I had to give change for a tithe. My tithe envelope, you know how they had a tithe envelope? I used to feel ashamed because my tithe envelope, you could hear it. You're not supposed to hear the tithe envelope, at least so you think, right? But you could hear it for a lot of time, for a lot of weeks in my life straight. You could hear my tithe because that's all I could give. Sometimes, matter of fact, if I wasn't able to, because I didn't really panhandle. So basically I had to do odd ends here and there just to get anything, or somebody would bless me with something. So if I didn't get blessed by anybody for a week, guess what? Like that meant that a lot of times when you heard the change jingling in my envelope, that wasn't my tithe. That was my everything. That was like the woman who gave, right? And she gave all that she could have, and it was only like $50. That was my envelope. That was all I had. All I had was 15 cents for the week. Might as well give 15 cents. And a lot of people would look at you strange. They look at me weird, but they didn't even know, because a lot of them didn't know what I was going through. Didn't know that's everything I had. You made $5,000 this week, and you was messing around and giving him 10 and acting like your 10 was better than my little 15 cents. But my 15 cents, Yahweh saw that and said, ooh, I like that. Yahweh was watching like he was watching the woman. He said, ooh, I like that. Go ahead, Kofi. That's all you had? And here's the deal. What was 15 cents going to buy me anyways? Help me out, somebody, right? Like, we long past the days where you were getting penny candy. All right. What was 15 cents going to buy your boy anyways? So if you're not going to buy me anything anyways, and I'm still going to be in debt, and I still don't know how I'm going to keep this phone on, and I still don't know where I'm going to lay my head at night, I might as well just give him the 15. And that's why now I've learned that, hey, like people look at me strange sometimes, like, why would you do it? Why would you get? Because it's embedded in me now. I've seen him work miracles. I've seen having family, not knowing where family was going to sleep, and somehow everybody always slept. I didn't know what I was going to eat for the day. Somehow I always ate. I've slept outside and almost lost my life to hypothermia, and yet somehow I'm still here to talk to y'all. Right? Like it's become the principal thing. Yeah, it's become something in my life where like I can't live without it because I've seen it pay dividends too much. There's too much seed that I've planted that has become the greatest woman to ever walk that I've ever seen in my life to become my wife. It's become a great young man who is a prince right now in Prince Solomon. It's become the ability to travel even at a moment's notice when I didn't even plan to, but Yah still somehow, some way, in his infinite wisdom, always has something there. It's become, I don't even know how I'm gonna take care of this bill. I'm gonna take care of this payment. I'm gonna take care of this vehicle. I'm gonna do this. Like a few years ago, I would have thought like I couldn't do this at all. 4 or 5 years ago, I just kind of started being able to give to the point I needed to. My wife has probably been sometimes some of the same things like, hey, I don't see this in them, but yet she kept faith in me. She kept planting seeds. She kept saying righteousness, positivity, things like that. And so now I've seen it turn into trees so many times in my life, not just a tree. I'd be satisfied with a tree. But I've seen it turn into so many types of or so many different trees, so many versions of the original seed that was planted. And I've seen those seeds continue to go. Why would I stop giving seed now? Yeah, my wife was saying she was just thinking about the blessings we saw when we made our cross country trip. We're probably not going to make a cross country trip this year, but even the travel that we can do, or the things that we're doing, or the Feast of Tabernacles, or all these different things, like it's a seed that was planted. I don't think people realize, right? We might have only had 20 to 30 people each night that we met up when we met up for convocation last year in Detroit. And there are many of you that were with us in spirit and virtually and stuff. But you guys don't recognize that was a seed. I can't tell you how many people have been blessed. Thousands of people that have been blessed because 20 to 30 people sowed a seed. Right? If you would sow a seed, sometimes I don't look, real talk. Some of you are absolutely right when you be thinking to yourself, I don't think Pastor Kofi know what he's doing sometimes. Sometimes I don't. Can I be honest with you? Sometimes I'm like, yeah, we're gonna do blah blah, but all I know is I comprehend this much. I'm not saying once again, plan for the journey. So I'm getting better at planning for the journey. So I'm getting better at making sure our stuff is laid out. I'm getting better at doing this. But guess what? One thing I can tell you I do with sincerity and I do it with regularity is that I plant seeds. You will not see your boy going through life without planting seeds because I recognize that I don't get the 9 if I don't have the 10th. Wow, Holy Spirit, that's a bar, right? I understand if I'm not gonna get the 9 if I don't get the 10th. Be careful. And see, watch this. What happens when I get to a point to where I'm so much in faith that now the 10th, I start saying, you know what, let me give you a fifth. Let me give them 30%. Let me give them 2/5. Let me give him half of it. Let me learn how to live off of just the 10th and give him more. Now, not only does he have seed to grow things, but now he has food that he can feed people right away. This is when your business takes off. When you realize that your business is taking off because you give a seed, then you'll stop being worried about the 9 out of 10. First of all, it doesn't even make sense that you're worried about the 9 out of 10 because it's 9 out of 10. If you get into a business deal with somebody, and you think about this, if you were to start a business with somebody and somebody said, hey, you know what, I'm gonna sign up with you, do all this, cool, we're gonna make about $5,000 a month to start, and you get to keep $4,500 a month. Why would you be upset about the 500? Just can we once again, let's not make it so mystical that it's not practical. Why are you so upset about the 500? I need to give him 2 hours and 12 minutes out of my life every day. That's a lot to ask. Okay. But that means that there's 21 hours and 48 minutes of your life every day. That's yours. right? And may I say there's people that even will give and they'll be like, I'm so embarrassed. I wanted to give for a long time, but I couldn't. And then they finally give for the first time. It might be literally like $5. And I'm sitting there like, do you not know how thankful and grateful I am that I know your situation, what you're going through, and you would still even think it worthy of sowing a seed into something we're doing? This is going to sound wild to some people, but I'm starting to learn. $5 in the kingdom can be worth just as much as 5 million if it's a seed, because 5 seeds can turn into 5 million trees. You're so busy about 5 million pieces of fruit, that you won't sow 5 seeds that will turn into 5 million pieces of fruit. And by the way, each piece of fruit that you get, guess what? It was connected at one point. It was designed to house seed. Do you catch that? So sow a seed. I don't even know where this was not intended what we're going to talk about today. But praise y'all. I know I wasn't even supposed to be on really like that today, but praise y'all, it was meant to be. Excuse me. I have a cup over here, if you don't mind. If maybe bring the other one over or something. I bring the thing over. Excuse me. But see, you had this thing in your life where you think that the seed. Oh, okay. Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, babe. You have this thing in your mind where you think that the seed must be held on to, not realizing that no matter how much fruit that you have, it will never amount to the seed. The fruit carries the seed. When you give a tithe, you're taking the seed out of the fruit. That's all you're doing, right? The fruit, watch this. The fruit will eventually die, right? Can you keep, if this fruit that I cut, do you think that it can last 5 years? Of course not, right? But the seed, once it's taken care of, do you think that can last 5 years even before it's planted? Come on, somebody. Like this thing, like I said, sometimes we make it so mystical, it's not practical. There are 90% is not even going to last. Y'all don't want to hear that. I'm sorry, excuse me. You hear what I'm saying? Your 90% is not even designed to last. Shalom. How you doing, son? Your 90% is not even designed to last, but your seed is. That's gonna mess with you. You're so busy trying to save. I gotta save this. I gotta make sure. I can't afford to do. You can't afford to give y'all what is going to last for generations. How much time have you been saving? How many times have you been saying to yourself, at some point we're gonna walk, we're gonna start going on walks? I'll say that just for you. You do. Right? How many times have we gone on walks? I'm going to save time. I'm going to do this. Okay, I got time saved, but then guess what? You get there. Okay, I know I got the time saved, but you know what? I'm kind of tired. Maybe I'm going to walk tomorrow. Okay, I know I got time saved. Maybe I'll go to the gym tomorrow. Okay, I know I got time saved. Maybe I'll start working on my kung fu, or I'll work on my push-ups and sit-ups. So I'll work on my, my study habits. I'll work on this. I'll work on my business and this and that. Keep on saving time to the song. So, you know the difference between, watch this. You ready for this? A business that functions well, that lasts, a business that never, a business that doesn't function well, are both better than a business that you never started. Did you catch that? Let me say it again. Let's rewind. Let's rewind, right? A business, and hear me, son, when I say this too, I want you to hear this. You ready? A business that does very well and a business that ultimately fails is better than a business that you never started. Well, no, if I didn't start it, I wouldn't have lost it. But if you never started, you would have never had a business. Well, if I got to make sure my stuff is together and I don't have my this together, I don't have my logo, I don't have enough money to do blah, blah. If you ain't got no money, then the business will bring in money. Yeah, but I don't have enough money to make sure that it brings in the numbers that I want, but it'll bring in something. I used to have a saying, right? When I was on the street and I was homeless, and people be like, why would you do this? And you only getting paid this. I say, because look, at the end of the day, $0.00 is not as great as $5 and some change. Somebody said, why would you work minimum wage? Hey, $7.25 an hour is better than $0.00 an hour. Is it perfect? Of course not. Is it something that I'm particularly, enamored about? I'm going to go back to? Of course not. But it's better than 0. But a lot of people won't start. You procrastinate. You won't give. You won't tithe. You won't go on the journey. You want the expected end. How do you look, if I'm in Delaware, how do I get from Delaware to California and I never once leave my house? I can have, and look, I'm not trying to hate on anybody because I agree with the law of attraction to some degree. I think that people don't comprehend how attraction works, but I agree with the law of attraction somewhat. And so I can have all the pictures of California all over my house every day. I can. And I can make sure that I have things saying, I will live in California. I can have a house and I can have words written on it. This will be my house in California. I can say, this is how many children I will have in California. All that stuff is great. But at some point, there need to be some kind of works. And at some point, I need to give some kind of seed. Could you give 2 hours and 12 minutes as a tithe during the day, by the way, out of 24 hours? Could you give 2 hours and 12 minutes a day towards what your goal is and your vision is? Watch it change. Right today, all right, even though I'm not necessarily in the greatest of places and headspaces and even my body's not feeling right, there's some stuff that I'm going to go to a property today. I'm going to put in some time. You know why? Because even if it's just a little bit of time, it's better than not putting in any time. And even if I don't know exactly what I want to do and how it's going to work, I'm at least going to feel better knowing I sold something. It cost me some time today. It cost me some energy. It might have cost me some stuff I wanted to do, this and that or whatever. And it's costing me some stuff that I need to do for SOC, for my family, this and that. I'm about to go on a trip that wasn't expected or whatever. And it's going to cost me and stuff like that. Sure. But guess what? Like, I'd rather sow. And I need to make sure now, once again, going back to what we were saying, am I sowing in the right place? Make sure you're sowing from the right place. Don't just sow. Just don't sow arbitrarily, randomly. Right? Sow with purpose. Now, what is purpose? Purpose is not the same as vision. As we're getting ready to take our leave, we're not going to be on too much longer, right? Purpose is not the same as vision. Yeah, like my wife said, like just doing a little task every day. And it might be, and what do they call it? They might say it's trivial or menial, right? Menial, is that the word? Menial task. But do a lot of menial tasks and see what starts happening. Right? Just watch this. Keep your medicine cabinet clean for a little bit. Wipe down your mirror in the bathroom every day just for a little bit. And then go from that to wiping down your mirror and wiping down your sink every once in a while. And then go from doing that to wiping down that and just doing the inside of the toilet. And then do the inside and the outside of the toilet. And then see if you see all that stuff coming together and you're like, I need to do something with these floors. And then if you're going to do all that, you can't get in the shower and be looking at the shower looking crazy, but everything else is clean. And then you start doing that, you say, man, I might need to go and get some stuff to dress this stuff up. I need it to look a certain way. So now you want it to look like you. Now you're getting a gentrification, righteous gentrification, because you want it to look like you. And now when you start doing that, you're like, man, if I'm going and I'm getting clean and this and that or whatever, and this looks like that, then my clothes need to look a certain way when I come out. But then I can't be looking at nice clothes and then have everybody coming over and they give them a nice bathroom, but the living room to the bathroom is disgusting. So now and you'd be surprised, just doing one thing, sowing a seed, what is it doing? It's multiplied, right? Be fruitful and multiply. How do we multiply? I give some fruit. I keep 9 out of 10. But I sowed at first. Be fruitful But if you're full of fruit, that means you're full of seed. And the seed that's in you, multiply it. How do I multiply it? I give it back to Yah. What are you sowing into today? Y'all feel the Hakwadash in this place? Because I'm going to multiply my purpose. Vision is what I see afar off, the end, the expected end. My purpose then is me fulfilling something every day to get me to the vision. That means I sow seed every day. I sow seed every day. If you want more details on that, by the way, look at Matthew chapter 13. I think we might even have a series on it. I had to redo it. I can't remember if it's on this YouTube channel or the one they took down. But do some research on Matthew chapter 13 and see where you're supposed to sow your seed and how, watch this, just because you sow seed, it doesn't mean that it's always going to grow exactly the way you think or exactly the timing. But see, watch this. Out of all the seed, if it all gets planted, like let's say, I don't know how many is for sure, but let's just give, it's more than what's in here, but let's just for the sake of, speech or getting through this and comprehension. Let's say there's 10 seeds in there. How many seeds need to be planted in here? Or how many of these seeds, if they get planted, how many of them need to grow in order for me to have 30, 60, or 100 trees? Amen. Only one. All it takes is one. Amen. Praise God, Minister Shante. We was on one accord. Amen. The word came through no matter what the vessel. Praise God. Right? All it takes is one. How many seed did it take to be implanted in the egg in your mother's womb for you to be born? Some people will argue hundreds of millions. Some people will argue billions of them outside all that. But guess what? All it took was one. How many people, watch this. How many people needed to die to be able to make sure that your sins were covered? All it takes is one. I got to be the righteous one. It's got to be in great ground. It's got to be correct. It's got to be perfect. But all it takes is one. How many, watch this, as bad as your marriage and your relationship might be for some of y'all, right? As bad as your relationship and your marriage might be for some of y'all, how many moments might it take for you to be able to change it and start it, at least going in the right direction? Might only take one. How many children need to be born from your children for you to become a grandparent? Just one. You don't need to have 15. Praise y'all if you do. I'm just saying you don't need, as soon as you have the first one, you're a grandparent. When you have the second one, you're not 2 times a grandparent. You just one. The 2 grandchildren still come into the oneness. Right? How many, watch this. No matter how many people are in a nation, right? You can have 5,000 people or 5 billion people. Guess what? If they're a nation, they're only one nation. That's holiness, y'all. Whole, become one. You are a holy nation, a royal priesthood, a peculiar people, a chosen generation. Just one, though. One generation of tree comes from one planting of seed. So everything that comes out of the words that you speak. So watch this. This is why you are one body. You are one wife, Israel, with one husband. He planted a seed, right? The father planted the seed, if you will, allowed his son to come and die for the seed that was planted so that his son could become one with the seed that he planted. But we're all going back to oneness so that we can get back to the oneness that Adam had with the Most High when he walked with the Holy Spirit in the cool of the day. Right? We're dealing with one. So watch this. When I give the Father his first fruit, the seed, it came from what I'm keeping anyways. So give him what's his, because what he lets you keep, you think it's more than what he gave you, but the reality is just one. Did y'all catch it? Right? Those of you who were with us the whole time, we cut up the apple. Is this seed different than this apple? Somebody getting it now. Is this seed better than this apple? Is this seed different than this apple? Is it better than this apple? It will give birth to more, but it's still the apple. The apple is still the seed, but you get to keep the part that's going to sustain you, and he gets to keep the part that will sustain you for generations to come. That's why you give him your first. That's why you give him the seed. That's why you give Yah the first out of every 10. That's why you give him every 10 cent. Out of every 10 cent, you better be finding a penny to give him. That's why out of every 10 shoes you buy, you better find a way to give that one pair of shoes to somebody else. That's why out of every in any candy that you get, right, you better find a way to try to figure out how to let somebody else get one piece of candy. Right? That's the principle. If you bless somebody with a piece of candy who hasn't had candy because they can't afford it, you think that'll make them feel great? If somebody can't afford candy, if somebody can't afford fruit, somebody can't afford something that tastes great, and you give them something that they can't afford, you think that's gonna make them feel nice? Yeah. And if you have, so if you have 10, so if you have 10 pieces of apple, or you have 10 pieces of I don't know, if you had 10 bowls of if you had 10 bowls of ramen. And you give somebody one bowl of ramen, you still have 9 bowls, right? So it's okay to give them one, knowing that it'll help them to feel better and that it'll help them to get full, and you still have 9 you can have, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Even on the child's level, we comprehend this. You know, give up keeping seed. Give up on keeping seed. Whoever this is for, give up on keeping seed. We won't be on this evening, by the way. We might try to do something. Oh, I don't know, because I missed yesterday, but we'll see. We'll see. I got stuff to do, and I got stuff to be ready for in the coming days. But we'll see what happens. But actually, Minister Tamara's going to be on tonight. So unless Minister Tamara can't be on, we'll just go ahead and let her do what she does. Praise y'all. But give up on keeping seed. You said someone bought you lunch because you forgot your wallet and made you cry. You felt so blessed. Yeah, and guess what? Now, every time you go in there, if somebody needed some lunch, I bet you buy it for them. It's generations. That's a seed, right? So, but hear what I'm saying. Give up on keeping seed. Everybody keeps keeping the thing that's designed to help you to multiply. And you're trying to keep the thing that's only for a moment in time. Give up on keeping seed. People who make money, right, they invest money, correct? The richest people on the planet, do you think they spend more money or they keep more money? These people are out here winning. A lot of them, all their stuff is liquid, right? Liquidity. In other words, it's not something that they even have. A lot of their money, like for example, Elon Musk, right? Like there's different ways for some of you to still pay taxes. Let me give you a little bit of the game. It's not that Elon Musk and Donald Trump and all these people that y'all say you don't like. It's not because they're rigging the system. It's because they live by principles. As much as you might not agree with everything they do, let me give you a principle. Elon Musk does not have cash on him like that. Elon Musk's wealth has nothing to do with cash. Now, he owns real things, but he doesn't have wealth based off of cash. Elon Musk gets paid off of a lot of stuff like stocks and a lot of stuff like cryptocurrency, a lot of different things like that. And what Elon Musk will do is Elon Musk will go to a bank and he'll say, hey, you know what I do. You know who I am. I'm just gonna put it in our vernacular. This is what he said. Like, look, you know what I do. You know who I am. You know that whatever I do, people gonna follow. You know that like I have this business, I got this business, I got this business. So he goes into the bank. This is what Elon Musk does. He says, hey, look, y'all just go ahead and give me a loan because you know I'm gonna make a bunch of money. I'll pay you back the loan through that or whatever, through the stocks or through this or through that or whatever. Just go ahead and give me a credit card. Go ahead and give me this. Go ahead and give me that. And I'm gonna go ahead and function off it, and y'all will make money off the interest. And they say, oh, that's a pretty great deal. Yes, sir.
Elon Musk makes robots too. Right?
Oh, I'm not sure. Probably it's invested in it.
He's the owner of Twitter.
He's the owner of Twitter. Yeah, I don't know if he owns Roblox, but
he does make Roblox. Yeah.
Okay, so he makes Roblox, or he created Roblox.
Robots.
Oh, robots. I thought you said Roblox. Sorry, sir. Yeah, Elon Musk is working on robots for Tesla. Yeah. Amen. Praise God for my son being in tune. Right. But hear what I'm saying, right? That yeah, so Elon Musk is not going in there like you do, being like, can you please give me a loan so I can like have more money and I can save more money and this and that. Like they're not rewarding that. They're rewarding the people that go in and spend money.
People are coming to Elon Musk and trying to get him money.
There you go. And people are trying, and watch it. People, and that's exactly right. Like my wife said, people are trying to give Elon Musk money for real. They're like, take my money, take that. And guess what he does? He just does at least what we would call in this context gifting. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Yes.
Much more than Donald Trump.
Probably. I don't. Either way, though, neither one of them really has money. Donald Trump doesn't have money either. Donald Trump, remember, a long time ago, Donald Trump was technically bankrupt, was he not? So Donald Trump ain't got no money. Elon Musk ain't got no money. We've been taught to think these people are living off money. They're not living off money. They're living off of. Watch this. This is why even those who are sovereignty, and I know we skipped sovereignty. I'm gonna try to do recordings. If not, we'll just start up everything next week. But these people are going off of your stat. Oh, actually, no, Black's Law Dictionary. This is gonna be a Black's Law Dictionary class. They're going off of your status. Look up what a definition of a person is. Thanks, babe. I see it's 11:11. Look up what the status. A person is considered a status. If you're a natural person, we have to look at your natural status. Yeah. See, you got to recognize once again, like, see, it's simple. It's not simple, but allow me to simplify it. The words that I speak have manifested into a life that I live. So somebody says, the life that you live, it seems to be awesome. How can you afford it? And I tell them, I sow a seed. They say, I don't like that. Tell me exactly how you did it. I can give you some exact things here and there, but for real, I execute out of a gift every day. And I do it with so much regularity. Forget 10,000 working hours. You give me 1 week, I might have 6 to 7. Let's just say 6. Some days I might have 6 hours. So do 6 times 7, that's 42. I might give people 42. Thanks, babe. Sorry. That I might give them 42 hours a week of just giving my gift. I'm honing my craft. Now imagine, because some people don't even think about this. Now imagine the people I'm talking to on the phone sometimes for 4 to 5 hours at least every day. Right? So give me, let's just say 4 hours. So give me 4 times 7. What's that? 28. So 28 plus 42 is 28 plus 42. That gives us 70, right? So now I've got 70 hours, but then give me the times that I'm actually studying, reading, looking up things, praying, right? So give me a couple more hours every day at least, right? So let's just make it modest. 2 hours, add that on, that's 14. So that's 84 hours a week. 84 hours a week. Now watch this. There's a rule of, I forget what this is, a rule of 100, I believe, where if you were to use 100 hours a year, this is something I ask of my son. I got to push my son in this all the time, but this is something I ask of him all the time. Can you give me 20 minutes a day? If you were to give something your best for 20 minutes a day, then you would give 100 hours a year to it. And really it's less. It's more like 15 minutes a day. But if you were to give like 20 minutes a day, you would give bare minimum 100 hours a day towards building your craft, which means that you would be, I think it's like you would be better than 95 to 96% of the people on the planet or whatever you give 20 minutes a day to. Now take that 20 minutes and do whatever multiplication you need to make it match what I just told you. I just told you 84 hours, right? Give me 84 hours bare minimum a week. Now some people work, I used to be one of these, have 2 jobs working almost 84 hours a week for somebody else, and not giving anything to your family or to yourself. I'm in my work for 84 hours a week. Matter of fact, how can we do that? I think I can do the math on that. Let me use a calendar real quick. All right, calculator real quick. Let me use a calculator real quick. So there's 60 minutes in an hour. So let's do 84, right, times 60. So 84 times 60, that gives us 5,040 minutes. That's 5,040 minutes a week, right? This is what you should be doing in developing yourself. 5,040 minutes minimum a week. Now, maybe you could say, matter of fact, I'll be more honest, right? Let me subtract because I don't do Wednesdays, right? So let's do. So we got to take away, even though I'm still studying. So let's just take away 6 hours. So let's say instead of 84, let's say it's 78. Let's say 78 hours times 60, right? Because Wednesdays are off. So let's just say 78 times 60. That's 4,680 hours. 4,680 hours. All right. So if I were to take that, right, 4,680 hours, and that's a day. I'm sorry, 4,680 minutes a day, right? Or a week. I'm sorry. Let me get this right in my head. 4,680 minutes a week. Can somebody write that out just to make sure that I get that correct? I think I got it. 40,680 minutes. Okay. Now, how many weeks are there in a year? There's 52 years. I just want to show you how this works. There's 52 years, 4,680 minutes a week times 52 weeks. That gives me 243,360 minutes a year. That gives me 243,360 minutes a year. All right. 243,360 minutes a year. Y'all catch that? 243,360 minutes a year, bare minimum. That's what I'm doing. Now, obviously, it might change up a little bit. Might be more some weeks, might be less some weeks, right? So, but let's just use that as an average. Let's use it as a base, all right? Somewhere around 243,360 minutes a year. That's not including if I'm posting other stuff on social media, if I'm posting stuff on Patreon, if I'm calling people and do whatever, right? Or it does include if I'm calling people. So there's other things in there, right? So let's say at least 243,360 minutes a year we're doing that. You ready? Now let's go to this. If somebody's only given 20 minutes a day, because some of us don't even do that. If you were to give 20 minutes a day, and we were to multiply that and make that 365, that means in order for you to be considered one of the greatest people on the planet at what you do, all it requires is 7,300 minutes. Traveling also, yep, and all this other stuff as well, right? All right. So you ready for this? 7,300. 7,300 minutes. So watch this. I'm going to do this. Let's subtract 200. And thank you, Sister Shima, for writing this in the comments. Let's subtract, and anybody else who did as well. I'm just looking at Sister Shima's right now. But let's just subtract 243,360. I'm sorry. Let's subtract from 243,360. Let's take away 7,300. That means that over somebody who's considered to be one of the best at what they do, if they were just spend 20 minutes a day, I still would have 236,060 minutes more that I spend in what makes me who I am, right? This is the, can you see the difference in that? Now let's do some math. So let's even do it like this. Let's do it like this, right? Let's do it like this. Let's do, because this is a way we can get a percentage. 7,300 divided by, right? We're going to do a fraction. We're going to make it a fraction so we can get a percentage. 7,300 divided by 243,000. Uh-oh. Why am I saying 200 and something? I must be reading the wrong thing. Okay, yeah. 7,300 divided by 243,360. That would mean that if somebody who was given just 20 minutes, some people don't even give 20 minutes a day, y'all. So let's say somebody's given about 20 minutes, which is supposedly supposed to be this rule of 100 that would make you one of the greatest people on the planet at what you do. That means that that person is only using, let's round it up because it's like 2.99967 something. So let's just make it, that person is using 3%. That person is giving 3% in comparison to what I'm giving. Now, watch this. I'm not trying to make it about me. I'm not trying to make this about me. I'm trying to get you to see that's the amount of work, right? You've been called to do something. All right, is my screen frozen on TikTok for everybody? I'm sorry. Somebody said the screen froze. Is my screen frozen for everybody? Can anybody hear me on TikTok? Can you hear me on TikTok? Anybody? Yes, no, maybe so. Okay, you can hear me. Okay, all right. So I'm not, okay. So we might just have a little issue and come back in, or it might have been frozen for a second. All right. So that means that there's people out there who only use 3% of the time. We've both been given the same 24 hours. We've both been given the same 24 hours. And look, I hear somebody, well, you don't have to work a 9 to 5 anymore. You can ask my wife. When I was doing the side hustle, when I was working the side gigs, when I still had 9 to 5, even though it wasn't even supposed to be a 9 to 5, they would start me off at part-time, and then I was so great they would give me full-time hours. I was still out here. Check my record, by the way. Check Kofi_40. Check Kofi_42. See how many videos were being posted every single day. Now I don't have to post them as much because of the seed I was sowing every day. But yeah, there were times my wife would tell you I was on at one point, and this was not just doing what you want to call religious stuff. Yeah, see, I was not just religious stuff. I was out there doing my deliveries.
Let me tell him.
Okay.
He was doing his deliveries. He was doing his side hustle. That was 8-10 hours a day, and he was doing the lives before he would get to work early, a couple hours early, so he could do lives in the parking lot. And then after work, he would come back and do it. And then on Sundays, because he had a free, he would go out on family day, and I would be like, "We don't have to go anywhere far. We don't have to do this." And he'd push himself every single week, and he didn't get any type of breaks. And then it was the project manager that suggested that he take off Wednesdays, and he was pushing back about taking off any type of days, even though this is Wednesday.
Yeah, well, I had off yesterday to be fair, but yeah. So I'm just saying, right? And still, you heard it say Sundays are still what? Family day. And even though I didn't have there's time, and once again, that's why I say you have to have a wife, not just a person. My wife had to sacrifice in that. That means that we spent time, but it usually would be literally, I think we timed the same time where we could see each other about an hour to an hour and a half. And then I'd be gone again. And then we do some stuff again, for about 30 minutes. And then basically it was sleepy time. But we had a vision, and we started seeing things that were coming out of it. So we were sowing seeds, right? So, and we started to learn that sowing the seed, now we're living off the 9 out of 10, right? And so I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to get you to see that, yeah, it seems like it's a lot, and it seems like it's too much, and there are things that are going to happen. Don't turn away from sowing the seed. Don't be afraid of sowing the seed. Thank you for helping us to reach 100,000 on 100,000 likes on TikTok. Appreciate it. Right? Don't be afraid of sowing the seed. Everybody on YouTube and on Facebook, we appreciate you as well. Don't get it twisted. All right, but don't be afraid of sowing the seed. A lot of people give up because you think the seed is everything, right? But the seed is everything that's for you. That's why you can't afford to not give it. I know. Man, I'm not going to forgive them. I can barely forgive myself and my child. No, you need to forgive everybody. That's a seed. Get rid of the unforgiveness so that you got some space. I can't afford to give any more time. I already got this and that, but you can't afford not to give it, because the time that you won't give now is ultimately going to be the time that you don't have later on. Right? The time you give now ends up being the time that you'll have later on. You see, you can't afford to not give it. I can't afford to be able to study and this and that or whatever. I can't afford to, no, you can't afford not to study that. This is why we work with people, even for classes. You can't afford to not get knowledge. You can't afford to not be better. Right? Your gift will make room for you. I want to go and travel. I want to do this. Well, guess what's going to get you to the travel? Sowing the seed. Hear what I'm saying? I don't do anything unless it sows seeds. And anything that doesn't sow seed, right? My wife, she comes and squashes it. She has every right to. I'm not saying that negative. She has every right to. You know why? Because if it doesn't sow a seed, what's the point? And and you know what? That's why I listen to my wife even more than what I used to, and I get better and better at it, because when my wife comes through and she says, well, if you're doing this, I don't see how it's beneficial for us. I don't see how it helps us as a family. I don't see how it helps us to get better. I don't see how it helps us to improve. I don't see how it's sowing for this, but it's not given to your family. And I say, you're absolutely right. And then I have to back off, because if it's seedless, it's modified. Correct? And if it's modified, then it's patented. If it's patented, the Most High didn't make it, which means that man owns it, but he can't give you what? Seed. Those things that are seedless are never natural. Don't let anybody tell you any different. Talking about organic, seedless grapes. What? Talking about buy these natural, seedless plums. What? Telling you, go ahead and get this avocado, but the avocado pit is like the size of an apple seed. That don't make sense. So, yeah, don't get so caught up on the end destination that you forget the journey, and be willing to give the journey. I don't know why we focus so much, but I praise y'all, right? I've never even seen it or heard it that way, but hopefully you got the comprehension of it, right? Hopefully you comprehended that seed is important. Sow the seed. You got 9 out of 10, and the 9 out of 10 is never going to give as much life as the 1 out of 10 that you give if you do it right. Problem is you guys keep giving y'all this. We do it in reverse. You give him one slice of apple, and you say, I'm gonna hold on to the seed for myself. And then you're like, why is nothing growing in my life? Because you keeping seed, and guess what? Seed belongs in the ground. Seed's not gonna grow in the trees or in your stomach. Why are you trying to eat the seed and not eat the flesh? Eat the flesh of the apple, so that you can go ahead and have the seed. The seed is what gets deposited. The seed is what becomes more fruit down the road. Fruit, right? If you eat all the seed and try to plant the fruit, isn't that backwards? Come on, somebody, just help me out real quick. We're getting ready to take our leave. We just got to we got to make sure we get this, right? I want to make sure there's no part of you that's going to miss this point today, right? You've been planting the flesh and never planting the seed. That's a whole word within itself. Preach to somebody, that'll preach, right? You've been planting the flesh and not planting the seed, not planting the zarah, not planting the spirit, not planting things that will last generations. You've been holding on to stuff. Stop holding on to flesh, right? You can eat that, but guess what's going to last forever is the seed. Plant a seed. Plant a seed today. See what happens. Plant a seed in your marriage. See what happens. Plant a seed when it comes to cleansing yourself. See what happens. Plant a seed when it comes to your anger issues. See what happens. Plant a seed when you fast. See what happens. Right? Watch a seed grow. You'd be surprised that anybody who's ever grown something, the first time that you grow it and you see it go from being a seed to seeing it actually like take on life. Oh, it's one of the most amazing things ever, because you realize you were part of a process. You were every day. You would look at it. You would watch it in the sun. You would water it. It was like you were taking care of a little child, and then you saw it grow. You were excited. And then guess what? What you gave into, what you planted, when it rewards you by giving you something that you can eat. Right? There's nothing like having my son walk up to me when he sees that I'm sad and sew a hug or something into me, right? Like, gave him a lot of hugs, gave him a lot of food, played with him a lot, things like that. But to hear my son come up and be like, don't worry about it, Dad, your Chava's got it. Like, you see what I'm saying? What you plant, when it begins to feed you, then you realize why you planted it in the first place. Right? So plant that seed. And give Yah his seed, give him his 10th, right? You worried about keeping on the 90, whatever, man. He just said, give me a 10th, and watch me give you more than the 90 can give anyways. And then if you decide to give him more than the 90, he said, well, not only will I grow things for you, but I'll make sure people around you get fed. Maybe he'll preserve the fruit for you. Maybe he'll dry it up. So just be ready for that. We're going to leave it there. I thank you guys so much. I appreciate the king and queen in each and every one of you. Even if you're not living inside that kingdom or queendom yet, we appreciate the potential king and queen in each and every one of you. I'm going to get ready to take my leave. Got some stuff to do, and then I got to get prepared. Continue to keep myself and my family in prayer as always, as we will do for you. Those who've been taking classes, I do apologize. The last 2 nights, it just wasn't meant to be. But whether we do recordings or we just make sure we start everything up next week, we shall. Those who have cultural leadership, I believe, is the class for tonight. We will be meeting up. I plan on being on at 9 p.m. Eastern New York time. Please check out our very own Minister Tamara on her TikTok channel tonight at Tamara _Yah9, TAMARA_YAH, the number 9. Please check out what she's doing there. Thank y'all for being on again. As always, this has been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we are always changing lives one mind at a time, by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. Study this word to make sure that it's of the Most High. If you're on TikTok, by the way, we're going to do our shout out. If you've never done that with us before, or even if you just want to participate in it again, feel free to just stick around for a little bit, and you'll be able to get more information about things that we do outside the live sessions, things that we do in person, meetups, Zoom, classes, a plethora of things that we have for you all. And also too, something else. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting something. Thank you to the brothers that came out for the men's meeting this last Saturday. I actually was having issues getting on, but we were able to get on and have very great conversation and discussion. So we thank you, brothers, for being diligent with that. And for those who did their homework assignment, we'll have our next meeting the third Saturday. I've been trying. I haven't been able to do it the last couple of days, especially, but I've been trying to make sure that I give some links to get in the chat that you guys have that you use for one another. So hopefully you'll be able to get that information very soon if you have not gotten it already. But thank you, everybody, for being on. Please check out my wife, as always, the Honorable Maya, on TikTok, YouTube, her website, and Pinterest at Bloom and Flourish, not A&D, the letter N. Bloom and Flourish is a healer, herbalist, chemist, and biologist by degree. And I'm so thankful very much for everything that she does for the diaspora. Also, check out Changing Lives Initiative, where she does a lot of great things for the diaspora as well. So keep us in prayer. Thank you so much. We honor the King and Queen in each and every one of you. We really, really do. I thank you again for participating, for being with us, for spending some time with us, and for learning and growing with us as we learn and grow. So thank you so much. Hopefully you learned something from today. Hopefully you got something from today. Keep us in prayer. And just keep us in prayer. Always keep us in prayer. As we keep each other in prayer. Please make sure you're also looking out for your ministerial staff as they're checking on you. I know some of them are, and some of them aren't really getting that much response. So please make sure that you're checking out for their responses to you as well. And if you have any born days, or anybody else has a born day, or anything that's going on, any anniversaries, anything like that, please let us know so we can make sure somebody can reach out to you as well and give you a shout out. But thank you guys again. If you're on TikTok, stick around for the shout out. We're about to get into it in a second, and you'll see what it is after we do the sign off. So thank you so much. We appreciate everybody, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, or TikTok, for being on with us. Again, as always, this has been Pastor Kofi, Pastor Servant of Christ, where we're always changing lives one mind at a time, by being the voice of the voiceless and speaking the unspoken. Until I have the great privilege, opportunity, responsibility of being in front of you all again, please remember, as always, that you are loved, you're necessary, you're majestic, you're fearfully and wonderfully made, in you, which is all of us working together, will be the reason why people who are in this system no longer have to be of it. Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, right? Yeah, Shabbat Shalom still. We're going to have the moon change in position this week. But Shabbat Shalom still. And then after today, we got a couple more days, and then it will be Reshan Shalom, the beginning of the next month. Those of you who are still on TikTok,